Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Steve Van Dees here. Welcome to the ThoughtXchange. I got my boy.
Hey, it's Cameron Barkey here. How's it going?
And introduce yourself.
Kaylor Betts.
Kaylor Betts.
Kaylor Betts.
We got
Kaylor Betts.
We got Kaylor Betts on the episode tonight.
Kaylor Elton Betts.
Elton?
Elton?
Yeah.
That's not your middle name.
Why did I say that?
I don't know why you did that.
It's actually embarrassing.
You just told everyone.
Open up a can of worms.
Yeah,
How many you did?
everyone's going to call you Elton from now on.
Yeah. I've never liked my middle name, but.
Dude, you're going to be you're Elton from now on for me.
Oh, yeah, I'm never going to hear the end of this.
You're never going to hear the end of this. You
Oh,
royally
man.
screwed that one up.
Yeah. Man, not even like 30 seconds into the podcast, I'm making mistakes.
Dude, you're doing fine, man. So what's going on, Kaylor Betts? Talk to us.
I don't know. What do you want to know?
What were we just talking about? We were just talking about bouncers, actually, which is a pretty wild concept.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about being a bouncer and what the motivations are and
why people become bouncers. Steve, were you listening to that?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I look at those guys and it's just like, they seem like they just work out all the time and they just want to just flex muscles.
Yeah,
Like, that's, sometimes, like, you look at that and it's just a big guy who's just like, you know what, it's easy cash to just be the big guy at the front door.
Yeah, and I was telling Barkey that I don't think it's any different than, why people become police officers or, to a certain extent, and it's situational, and obviously there's anomalies, but you get a uniform, you get to wear that stab vest that makes you,
Gives you a sense of power.
Yeah, man.
It's a weird sense of power.
You get to roll up your sleeves and show your guns, and yeah, chicks like it, and, I remember even, like, for me, I was about 21, like, it was a way of getting out aggression. Like, sorry, I just adjusted the mic. It was a way of getting out some aggression. Like, when fights would break out, you could.
Would you push some kids around?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever lay into a dude?
Oh yeah. I got punched too, and I'm not trying to make me sound all hardcore.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
It wasn't that crazy, but I was 35 pounds heavier, and worked out a lot. But yeah, we had some pretty intense fights, and you have to get in there, and it's a way of getting in there and fighting and breaking things up and being able to fight. That's actually, you can't really get in trouble. I mean, you could if you cross the line.
You know what? I was like suggesting, and I had suggested to I think I suggested it to Haas or Mukai or one of those guys. I was saying you should just open up a training facility for bouncers.
Haas?
Yeah.
Who's Haas?
Haas runs like a jiu-jitsu.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was just like, how cool would it be if, like, your club, you have your bouncers and they have to get certified through these JIT courses or whatever, because realistically they're not fighting as much as they're submitting people, right? Because you got to just basically control them, and then they can do it more in a controlled setting where they don't let the aggression take over. Because that's when real problems get, people start throwing names and then emotions get wild, and then
Yeah. It's actually a really good idea. Like, they have bartending courses.
Yeah.
Where and you submit that with your resume, and some bars even make you take bartending courses. So yeah, why not?
You have to. You need not a bartending course, but you need AJLC. You need
not the
your
AJLC thing, but like you can actually
Finance
take a bartending. Yeah, and I took it when I started bartending. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to, like, the most impressive, and this sounds like kind of, I must be getting old saying this, but like talking a guy out of a fight is way more impressive than
verbal judo.
Choking him out. Yeah, verbal judo.
Yeah.
And that's what, if I ran a bouncer course, you would try and promote that. Whereas a lot of bouncers, not to stereotype, well, I guess this is a stereotype, but I was one of them, are hotheads, right? They just want to fight, right?
They want to fight. It's like they're just looking.
Not all,
they're
but
just looking to, like, who's going to challenge me today? Who wants to challenge? Who
there
wants
were
a piece
nights
of me?
where I wanted to fight. Like, I really wanted to fight.
Yeah, that's wild. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Some people need to get kicked in the head, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Some of these little twerps, man, like, the fuck,
Yeah.
like, people will beak, like, to the level of, like, beaking, where it's like they need to get slapped.
Yeah.
There were certain people. Steve's not about that, but there's dudes that need to get slapped.
They probably want to too.
That's what they want to. So
Yeah.
they're beaking in order to get slapped. Like,
That still reminds me of, like, this situation that happened one time on White Ave. This is back in the day. Like, White Ave is tough because you get a bunch of 18-year-old kids that are just trying to, like, prove their masculinity, right?
Yeah.
And there's this kid in a bar. His shirt's completely torn up and ripped up and stuff. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? He's like, my mom died and blah, 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 and this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, so what the fuck are you doing in the bar? Like, I'm thinking to myself, why are you in the bar?
why did you approach this guy? Because
What?
his shirt's all ripped?
He's in the bar like he'd already been in a fight, and his shirt's completely torn up. And I'm just like,
he's looking for
and
something.
he was looking. And we were sitting at a table, and he's at our table, and I'm like, dude, like, what's going on? And then he's like, he was going through some hard shit, but I'm just thinking to myself, well, the nightclub is the last place that you want to be. Like,
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be here. Then he got tossed out, and then it was weird because later on he snuck back in, and he snuck into the dance floor, and he took a shot at me on the dance floor, and I was just like, this kid's crazy.
Like swung at you?
He swung at me, and I'm just like, and all of a sudden, it's so weird. Like, I don't know what it is. Like,
And he knocked you out and you have a
no, he
concussion?
missed.
Or?
He totally missed, and I was on top of him, and then like the girls were kicking him and stuff like that. It was weird, and then
Oh,
he got
wow.
up.
The
and ran
girls
out.
were kicking?
Yeah, the girls were kicking him, and then like he got up and ran out. It was just like, it was the weirdest situation.
Well, and you know what, man? Like nowadays, I wouldn't even think about doing that, like that job. Like I guess it depends where. If you're a bouncer at a little pub, that's, you know, harmless. But like we were just talking, like some of these clubs, man, like you can't pay me enough. I mean, they don't get paid very much anyways, but you can't pay me enough to. It's dangerous.
Dude, I was
It
saying
really is.
there was guys I would wait down in the office with Jacob, and we'd look at guys at the camera waiting for me.
Yeah.
Because I kicked them out, or I didn't allow them entry, and they would just be waiting there at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, because they said they were gonna kill me, and they were like legit, like the car walk from 101 or 100 Jasper to, I was parked near 97th Street, I was parked 99th Street, I was over in that area, like right in the hood. That walk from there to over by like Norman's, the Citadel and the library was like scary every time.
You walked home after work every night.
Every night, yeah. Every night I walked home after work to my little Jeep TJ. And it was the scariest.
I wish we were better friends back then, because I would have never let you do that.
Dude, it was
I literally
insane.
would not let one of my friends do that.
After
I
being a
would.
bouncer like that?
Well, I wouldn't let them work at the club. I mean, I wouldn't let them. What I mean by that is I would
know what
do
you're
everything
saying.
I could to not have them do that. I'd be like, I'll pay you the money you make those nights just so you don't work there.
Well, no, it was
And
crazy.
then walking home after?
It was nuts. I was always looking over my shoulder. That's
How
why I
long
wore,
ago was
that's
this?
why that's why I wore the balaclava.
How long ago was this?
2012. That's why I wore balaclava, so when I did walk, people
You
didn't
wouldn't
know.
do that now.
No.
Okay.
No, that was, and I didn't even think it would be, I don't want to say fun, it's a totally different industry now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
didn't, I didn't
How old
know.
are you, Steve? If you don't mind saying, I don't know.
Jeez, man, you just throw me under the bus like that.
Yeah, you just chucked Steve under the bus,
Yeah.
eh?
What are you, like 18 or?
No, I'm gonna be 39 here. Right
39?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit different. I mean, I just turned 30, so back when you were young, what bars were, like, not young, but
Okay, well, we
Yeah.
had
like what was like the
Ezzy's,
Club-
Esmeralda's.
Club
Ezzy's,
Malibu. Club Malibu
Cowboys,
was the
probably.
big one. Club Malibu was the big one. Cowboys was another big one.
Cowboys.
Malibu was just off white, yeah.
Yeah, they have it right now. It's like it's a shelter. It's that building that they turned it into like a home.
It's by
like-
Shoppers Drug Mart,
like
isn't
a
it?
youth shelter and stuff like that.
Okay.
Shoppers Drug Mart across the street from it?
No,
No.
that was.
Oh,
the
you're
second-
talking
that
about
was
the Armory.
That's the
You're
second
talking,
Ma-
oh,
that
you're
was
talking
the
Steel
second
Wheels.
Malibu.
Right
That's
across
the
the street
second
from Steel Wheels
Yeah,
was Club Malibu.
that was.
Now it's like
and
a
that
homeless
place
shelter.
that place was awesome. Like
Yeah.
2 levels. Place was packed. People would hang out outside, hang out in the parking lot,
Nice.
and hang out on the.
There was a
different
parking
levels.
lot there, yeah.
And they used to play like retro music in there,
Nice.
and it was like, yeah, it was good.
Is it by
Esmeralda
Steel
was,
Wheels?
huh?
It's by Steel Wheels?
Across the street from Steel Wheels, that
Yeah.
pizza spot
The
where
pizza
everyone
spot?
draws on the wall.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
so you would, I think, yeah, you would go outside. Like it was the perfect spot. You'd go outside, get the food across the street, whatever.
You know what? Do you think you could still get a club in there? Because that would pop off, actually. Clubs
What is
are
it right
dying.
now? A
It's like
shelter?
a homeless shelter or like
No, it's a youth
at-risk
shelter.
youth thing.
It's not
Well, we don't want to take that away.
Want to turn it into a bit of both. It's at-risk youth daytime, nightclub at night.
This is a horrible idea. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, this is one of those ideas you say off camera.
That happens,
We'll
man.
discuss
Whatever,
it.
you know.
I'm just bugging you.
Betsy, you're killing me, man. Yeah, that was a wild time. And I don't know why dudes bounce on
There's
purpose.
the Funky Monkey, I think was another one. There was
Oh,
the
yeah, Funky
Morgue.
Monkey, yeah. The Morgue.
I think it was
Funky
it was
Monkey?
another
Are you
club.
thinking Funky Buddha?
No, Funky Monkey. So
Funky Buddha on my
then it
God.
was so then they had the Club Malibu, the Morgue, right? So there's 2. So the Morgue was right on the corner of where we're not. It's not Fluid anymore. It's Avenue. Across
yeah.
the street, there's that new building that went up.
Yeah.
That used to be like a.
The Mayfair?
Used to be the Mayfair went up there, but that used to be like a parking lot and had like a
That was
right
the
beside
Globe. That was the
right beside the
Globe.
Globe.
Yeah, so that used to be the.
It was called the morgue. It
was
wasn't
called
morgue,
the
wasn't
morgue?
it?
It was called the morgue because
Yeah.
it used to be a funeral home.
It was a
Right.
funeral home, the
Yeah,
morgue, and then
yeah.
turned into
And
the
so it
Globe.
was Club
I'm sure.
Club Malibu, the morgue
Wow.
for long, and then it was the Funky Pickle and.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
do you
not
remember?
the Funky Pickle, the Funky, Funky Monkey. I think it was what it was.
Do you remember the Globe?
Hmm?
The Globe.
I don't think I. Yeah.
The Globe was awesome, man. That was one of my favorite
I
bars.
still have pictures of us.
Yeah, in the Globe.
Yeah, they're wild. They're on Facebook. They're
Delete
floating
them.
around.
Delete
They're there.
them.
No,
Then there was
They're
the other
now.
one, the bank.
Dude.
The bank Ultra Lounge.
Oh, the
I remember the
bank.
bank.
Yeah,
That was
That's where
I had-
Boulevard is.
I had a lot of stuff. Yeah, Boulevards are now, but like I had a lot of memories in the bank.
Yeah,
Ultra
the
Lounge.
bank. Yeah, I frequented there for sure.
Yeah, but
You're
that
supposed
was
to be 25 to go there. That was one of the first 25 only things I remember.
No, it was 21.
Was it
I
21?
think it was 21. Yeah, because I went there lots.
It was supposed to be 25.
Oh, was it?
25
Yeah.
for men, 21 for females.
I would like to see them do that now. Actually, I don't know if it's needed. You have places that young people go and places that the older crowd goes, but
let's see.
Not for nightclubs though.
yeah, you're right.
Nightclub
Yeah,
industry's
nightclubs.
dying, I
It's
think.
all.
Yeah, not very many people go out anymore. Like I find, like maybe
It's weird.
The Ranch probably gets a lot of kids in there, and then Cook County gets a lot of kids in there.
And same with Beercade is packed. You know where
yeah,
Beercade is?
yeah, on White Avenue.
Yeah, it's packed.
That thing's packed.
Filled with kids though.
Filled with kids, like legit kids. I went there like a few weeks.
No, you're not.
To Beercade? Beercade? Okay, earmuffs for this one. No, I'm just joking. But we went in there one night, and no disrespect, Carlito, but like literally I looked at some of the people in there, and I'm like, I did not realize, because I hadn't been to a bar with 18-year-olds in a long time, and I forgot how young these kids looked. They are freaking kids, man.
That's weird.
Oh my God, I was like,
Did we look like that?
Dude, I was looking at pictures of me when I was 25. I looked like a kid. That one when I posted.
You don't look like a kid. You look suave. You look like.
I still look way younger than I did now. Like that was 25. That was only 10 years ago.
well, it's more than 10 years
More
ago.
than 10 years ago. Yeah.
But
How much stress has been in your life since?
yeah.
A lot from the business and everything.
yeah.
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 Dude, I've aged in like, I look old. I'm like, what the fuck? And that's from like.
I think you looked young when you were like a younger looking dude. I always looked older than my age. I don't think I looked like that when I was 18.
You look the same to me right now. I'm like,
Really?
yo, that's Kaylor Betts right there.
Yo,
Like,
I'm actually for the first time, because I'm starting to get to that age, that is actually a huge compliment. That I like to
Serious?
hear- yeah, that I look the same. But
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just saying to you.
no.
Are you actually saying physically?
Yeah, like
Damn,
you're
man.
Kaylor Betts.
That's awesome. Thank
Maybe
you know
maybe
what, though?
a little skinnier.
I was thinking about this though too because like I look at my brother and my sister.
Yeah.
They look the same to me.
Yeah.
From when I
I
was
think it's
younger.
just like
I
a-
think it's just because you grow in the same era and
Yeah.
you just see each other and you don't
Yeah, he's
actually.
taking away the compliment.
You don't actually.
You're
like-
gonna do that.
He's shitting on my.
No,
I-
I'm-
He
no,
was
no, I
actually
get it.
genuinely happy. And you
I
just
get it. No, I
ruined
get it.
He
I
looks
get
young.
it.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, you just
He's
screwed that
pissed
up.
off because he's 39.
Oh man.
You know what?
that's
You know
so
what's funny though?
funny.
Like I don't think I actually look 39. Like some people.
No, you
people
don't.
get really surprised
No,
and
you
they'd be
don't.
like, "Yo, man, this guy's almost 40." I think
Especially
it's just,
even
like,
if when do you shave ever, or do you always keep the?
when I shave, I lose 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
I lose
bet.
10 years. And I'm like, get really, really.
Yo,
screwed
you
up.
cleaned up just now, eh?
Yeah, I just shaved.
You got a soul patch though.
I just shaved.
Dude, you're rocking full on soul patch.
Yeah, the soul patch is just something that I feel like I need some facial hair, or else I just look like a kid, like a baby.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little bit of manlyhood just right there.
Yeah, I guess so, eh?
But I rock the beard a little bit sometimes.
Did you ever do the man bun?
The man bun, no.
I was thinking about that. There was a lot of like how
Do
that.
I look like someone
how
who
that?
did
No,
that?
but I was just thinking
The
like
man
how
buns-
like 2 years ago, like everybody had.
I was gonna snip those things off.
Like everybody had, like we were talking about that, how you just wanted to run around with scissors and just cut everyone's hair.
Dude's looking like Cabbage Patch Kids and shit.
It is kind of like, but I guess like it's the only way they can have their hair slicked back.
No, it was definitely a fad, bro.
Oh,
Like,
for sure, it's a
everyone
fad.
was
But
like,
there's still lots of guys rocking man buns. out
Even
there.
when it's like not even long enough and they just like tie it all in the
And
back,
it's
so
this
it's like
little
this
onion
little
on the
thing at the top. It's like, I guess.
Yeah, man, we're
like,
gonna get some hate from these guys with man buns.
No, fuck them, man. Like, I don't
That's-
give two
you know
shits.
what, that's-
Is this
listen-
in Australia? Because we're gonna be fucked if this is.
Well, they
Listen,
love them over
Hey,
there.
this is a thing though too. Is like whatever happened to like the tribe, putting people in their places. You can't do that anymore. Like back in the day, even in hockey, like you
We're
or like when
talking-
it's like you had the tribe mentality. If there's guys veer off from the tribe, you get picked on
That's primal. That's
until
primal, for
until he
sure.
basically like gets back in line with the rest of the tribe. You
I'm
can't
still
do that now.
I'm
We're
still
so
like that,
far
but now I'm
past
just
that,
a
man.
now
We're
I'm
so
just a
past
bully.
Well, especially nowadays, man. Like you can't criticize anyone.
Well, there's no real tribes anymore, though. That's the thing. We got a whole society of individuals. Everyone's an individual now.
I heard a stat today. I was listening to a podcast. There are 50,000. This is the States, but there's 50,000. 5,000 active cults in the States, and like big enough that they could keep statistics on it. So there's probably even more, and big enough that they could actually claim it as a cult.
What do you mean a cult?
There's
Like
5,000.
like a religion? Or like some David Koresh shit? Like there's dudes
That's a good question. I don't know what they classify as a cult, but it was from a credible source, and they just stated that there's 5,000 cults. I mean, I would assume there's cults have certain characteristics that it needs to match, and it would be like there's a leader that everyone follows. There probably has to be a guru.
Like the cult leader. Like we're talking like
cult leader.
a bunch of dudes are naked
Yeah, and
in the woods
like
somewhere
those hippie
following
dudes.
some
Yeah.
guy.
And I'm assuming they don't classify like something like a network marketing business a cult, or even though there's probably debate for that, but or a like Landmark or something. You know what Landmark is like. I'm assuming they don't consider these cults, but
I think
50,000 cults.
I think it would almost imagine
Or
it would be a
5,000.
cult once you start to worship the actual person that's the cult leader,
Yeah,
How
right?
do you start a cult?
You just start calling yourself a leader.
it's the same way of starting a business. Same way you start a business.
And you're just that dude that people just follow you. What? That's
Like
I find
people-
that insane. I'm gonna
people-
watch a little
people-
documentary
there's-
tonight. Actually, there's one in my head. There's a guy running around saying he's the second Jesus. It's like a Vice thing.
Have you seen Wild Wild Country on Netflix?
That's
Yes,
what I need to watch.
documentary.
Okay, which one's that one?
It's really good. It's with.
No, you didn't want to watch it. You got scared and you freaked out. That's
You
a
got
TV show.
scared?
Scared? What are you
Halfway
talking
through it,
about?
you're like, oh, I can't watch this. This is crazy. Remember the one when they were doing those breathwork classes and they were
Yeah.
basically doing all the smashing. And
Why am I
banging
drawing
each
a
other
blank
and they're
on
all
what his
naked?
name is? It's like Osho.
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 Dude,
Oh,
Osho.
that's
So
the
this is what I
yoga
this,
guy.
this is-
Yeah.
Based on stuff. This is what I was like looking at Osho and I was watching him and he was like, he's angelic, and then the higher he got, there was a point where he flipped, and I was just like, and even when I experienced a lot of stuff, I always said I'm just like, the closer you get to the light, all of those people as they start moving to illumination and illuminating this, the closer you get to the light, the stronger the temptation becomes to get flipped, because like it's like all of a sudden it doesn't take long to like get a cardinal sin or do something that all of a sudden now you lost all of your soul. You basically gave it up.
Are you talking some Anakin Skywalker shit?
Which one?
Well, Anakin Skywalker was always tempted by the dark side, but he was super powerful.
Yeah, the dark
then he
side is
turned
always
into-
and it's the thing is like
It's a thin line.
It's a thin line, and what happens is someone explained to me very, it's like the sun, right? The sun, the stronger the sun is, the more defined your shadow is. Like you can see the light and the dark. It's like literally there. And then someone else also said to me that kind of really resonated. It's like the devil will never give you the keys to the kingdom if you give up your soul for breadcrumbs. So people are on the street, like basically for a hit of crack or cigarettes or alcohol, they've already given their souls up because they're basically for nothing.
Right.
But people who are basically trying to illuminate themselves and become very, very powerful and become like they can manifest things, they can do shit, like the temptations get much, much, much stronger. And then the sin that you create is that much more,
Well, at that point, it's a big deal.
it's a big deal.
That's when
Big
you're
deal.
like, you end up murdering people or you end
That's
up
what you do.
Well,
like
and
it's
extorting people.
Like even with the Wild Wild Country, like all of a sudden there was a bunch of murders around the guy.
Right.
Right. Like the people that were trying to protect him started killing each other
Yeah.
because they're trying to like maintain the thing. And it's
a
like
weird
the same
one.
thing with Ozark. It's like once you start heading down that path, a couple times I've seen this. Like
I'll watch that tonight. Wild Wild Country.
Wild Wild Country.
it's a
It's
TV show. It's a long.
It's
book.
not. It's
a
not like
docu series.
a docu
Have you
series.
But it's
seen-
fascinating.
Have you seen that show Triple Frontier?
No.
So with Ben Affleck and the couple of the guys, they're like army.
It's a movie?
Yeah, there were a couple army missionary. Well, they used to be like military guys, and they basically were gonna do a private op and go steal money from some guy, and then shit just gets bad, and it just starts going bad and bad and bad. And there was one line, and the guy goes, "We got to be careful here," like because once they've crossed the line.
Right, yeah.
That's when shit starts to go.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a good argument for like if you are one of those leaders, like an Osho.
Osho.
I think that comes from a place of like he probably has some crazy shit inside in order to. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like he probably has that. Probably comes from a lot of pain.
No,
or a lot of.
I don't think so. Like watching him, like he very.
Like, do you think you're just like he's enlightened? Like does enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it, or you called it something different?
He said illuminated.
Illuminated, enlightened, whatever. Like he, these leaders of these kind of cults or whatever you want to call them are. No, I shouldn't say cult groups are enlightened in a way. That only comes from pain, does it not? You can't just be born enlightened.
No, it's more of.
Can you be enlightened without seeing the other side? Do you know what I mean?
With which side?
The other side, the darkness. Like it's just like what you said. There's like a very thin line.
It's a very thin line. You see both sides of everything.
I don't think you can become.
Everything.
There's a guy named Eckhart Tolle. Do you know Eckhart Tolle?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fully enlightened, and it came from pain. He was suicidal, and then he one day just literally like it was almost like he went through like ayahuasca or something. He just like completely woke up to, wow, this is completely different perception than what I'm actually have been perceiving this whole time, and then he just became extremely peaceful.
Eckhart Tolle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
that's
a
wild.
badass.
And that came from pain.
Well, yeah, he was on borderline suicidal. I don't like. That's what I mean. Like, would you guys agree? Like, I don't think any enlightenment in any form whatsoever can not come from some sort of painful past. Like, how do you become that? How do you have that much inner peace if you don't know the other side? Like, I don't even know if that's possible.
What's the definition of enlightenment then? like when you say enlightenment,
that's
what
up
does
for
that
debate.
mean? Yeah, see, like
I've heard many people say what enlightenment is. Basically, it's to me the bees as a layman in all of this. I would say it's like inner peace, like just complete and 100% inner peace, and
so in order to find that
consciousness, 100% consciousness.
100% consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably people, if they're really yogis, they may be cringing right now.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, this is the Kaylor Betts
this is my interpretation.
Yeah.
But hey, I read a lot about like Buddhism and stuff like that, and yeah, I think enlightenment is just basically like you believe, you come to realize that you're more than just yourself 100% and complete and 100% inner peace.
So by that definition, you're saying that in order to reach the complete inner peace and just knowing you're more than just this, you can't see the exact opposite.
Yeah, like that's a good question. I don't know. I do think that let's maybe dumb it down. Maybe let's not talk about enlightenment. Can you be extremely happy or fulfilled? Okay, not happy, because I don't think happiness is even what people should necessarily strive for, but fulfillment and meaning. Can you have 100% fulfillment in life without having some struggle before that? Because how do you even see the light if you've never seen the dark?
I've seen some people who are freaking ignorant. Like, it's just like, when they say ignorance is bliss?
Yeah.
I've seen some people where I'm just like, fuck, they don't have a fucking clue.
You know what?
And they're
I gotta agree with that.
Fucking happy. I'm just like,
no,
man.
You're just like, this person's a fucking nonce, but
no,
they're like so happy.
No, like they're just like, it's just like the simplicity of their life.
They probably just hit it on the head then.
They just hit it, like it's so simple, and they just don't know anything else, but they just found this life and its simplicity that I'm just looking at them. It's like, these guys don't have a clue, and they're basically so happy. I'm just like, ignorance is bliss.
I actually know exactly what you're talking about. I call it delusional. Like, I see some people who go and they're so ambitious about things, and they're doing things that they are not credible enough to do, but because they're so delusional and they don't have any self-awareness,
they just do it and it works.
They just do it and it works.
Yeah.
Especially now with social media, you see people getting up on stage and you're like, you live in your parents' basement. Why are you? Why are you?
Yeah. I know, like, but it's working.
Yeah, like, and that's just a random example, but like.
But that's what I mean. Like I met.
Or you're a 17-year-old kid and you're doing, and I love it. I like. It may sound critical, but I actually I envy it, because I am over analytical. I'm actually too self-aware sometimes.
It's like a curse almost.
It's a curse
almost. Like you know too much and you start calculating too much. It's the same thing as like how
You're saying analysis process?
what's
or?
his name?
Yeah.
The Tesla guy. What's his name?
Nicola?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's the same thing. Where he's just like it's like a curse. It doesn't shut off.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, he said...
And it's like it just doesn't shut off,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
just constantly trying to work it out
Yeah.
all the time. And like I said, with this couple, I saw them, and then like they found each other. They were in love. They were definitely a couple that wouldn't have found love outside of, like, they weren't like the best looking couple, but together they were just like, yeah, you guys are a match. Like, and then they just together, and then they just go through life together. And I'm just like, don't worry about anything else. And then they just get their house, get their kids, get their this, get their that. Like, they just basically live in life through love.
You're right, and their ignorance is bliss in that situation. I just think for the people who are if you look at all of we could name the top, each one of us could name the top 10 most, I guess, influential and successful people in the world. And I bet you 95% of them or 90% of them would all come from some pain. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like everyone from Oprah,
Homeless,
Elon
this person
Musk,
dying,
like
this,
Richard Branson, like all these guys, they all come from pain. And maybe I'm more so saying that it's where their ambition, it's where people's ambitions come from. Because I bet you a lot of these people who are ignorant of pain and are actually happy are probably not the most ambitious people. They're probably very content with a simple life.
That's such a great point you
Yeah.
make. I guess maybe the more ambitious you are, that's the distinction you're trying to make. Like,
I was listening to a podcast. You know, Shep Gordon. He was like he's a manager for like Alice Cooper and like all these big name stars. And he said, "You want to know the biggest thing that I see with major superstars is they all have this huge hole inside them that has guided their whole career for them trying to prove that they're worthy, right? And they just have all these voids inside them, and their whole career has just been, and then they get there, they achieve success, and then they realize, oh, like, A, this isn't actually what made me happy, and B, then they get imposter syndrome where they think that, oh, well, they just like the character of me, but they don't actually really like the actual me, right? And that's what this Shep Gordon guy said. And he's no one knows better than him. He spent all his time.
I think a lot of it has to do with the
Wow, that's
destinations
crazy.
too, right? Like some people, why they do specific things. Like I know a lot of people that want to, either be musicians or not because they love the music, but because they want to be famous. And I'm just like, they just want to be famous. So what happens is that they just think that this is the tool I'm going to use to become famous. And once they become famous, they're just like, once they get it, they'll be like, oh, it's not everything I thought it was out. Now I'm like working twice as hard. I'm just like, as opposed to musicians who just love the music
Yes.
and then end up becoming famous because their music is so good. They don't want the fame, but they love the music, and the fame is just part of that, right? It's the same people who put marriage as like the end game. I want to get married, I want to get married, I want to get married. And then they get divorced because once they got married, they're just like, now what?
Yeah.
Just like, well, that wasn't the actual end game. The end game is to spend the rest of your life with someone. And I'm like, the marriage is just it's the beginning, more not the end. Like,
Yeah.
It's just literally like,
It's the journey.
it's the journey. You're just starting. So people get married, and then as soon as the marriages happen, the first year, they're always struggling because they're like, the identity is gone because you're like, that was the goal.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I'm starting to really, I've always heard that, you shouldn't chase money, and even very successful people, very wealthy people say, like, even successful business people say, don't chase money, don't chase money. And I've always kind of been like, yeah, but you got chasing money is okay as long as it's not your main focus. It's, the pursuit of money, there is nothing wrong with that. And I still don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm starting to come around to realize what they mean, and that it's always the people who first, there needs to be an element of, you need to very much have a ton of passion and meaning towards what you're doing, right? And if you're really just chasing the money, well, then you may achieve, let's say you're starting a company and all you care about is making money, you don't really care about what you're actually doing. Well then, okay, even if you achieve the money, well then you're not going to be happy because, then you plateau with the money feeling, and then the business you're not even passionate about, so why are you even going to show up to work the next day, right? So I think I'm starting to come around with that as well too, and like really, and you mentioned the artist and the creator, I think that's a great example, because you look at a lot of these musicians and producers and all that stuff, it was never about the money. It's always about the art.
Yeah, they just like doing what they do, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like whenever you pursue a want, you'll never be happy, because once you get it, you have another want, and you have another want, and you have another want. You buy some stuff at the store, you want to buy more stuff, you want to buy. It's a never-ending void that you have to try to fulfill all the time, right? So
that reminds me of, I just heard the best definition of happiness I've ever heard. Someone very simply put it as, happiness is the absence of desire. And I was like, shit, it's the absence of desire. So, and if you really think about it, if you're not desiring anything, you're happy. As soon as you're like, oh, I want that, or I wish I was here, or I wish I had that, you're unhappy.
that's the opposite, yeah. That's the opposite. And so you just have to be, the thing is, everyone thinks if I do this, I'll be happy. I'm like, no, you won't. You have to find happiness. Happiness is a feeling, it's emotion now. Yeah. Anthony Robbins said this too, is like, nobody wants money. Nobody wants money.
Yeah.
Everyone wants what money can get them.
It. Yeah.
And the thing is that in return comes down to an emotion. Why do you want the fancy car? Because it comes down to an emotion. So if you learn to trigger the emotions without anything else, that's where you basically be like, well, shit, I'm happy. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Because like, basically can create my emotion and make myself happy all the time. And I'm just like, and I really just truly am happy.
Yeah.
You know?
That's, I've heard him say that. That's such a great way to put it. Like, you don't want money, you want the emotions that come with it, which are already inside of you.
Yeah, which are already there. You're just thinking, you're trying to trigger it, and you
Yeah.
put. You know what? If you really, if you think like this, you can make it. You can simplify it if you will. And this is where that NLP comes in. Simplify it. Say, okay, if I get that Lamborghini, I'm like, I'm gonna be happy. I'm just like, why don't you just say, if I, do 5 push-ups, I'll be happy. You know, like. You don't need to put the bar so high. Yeah. Like you can just keep it and just constantly keep rising it as you go, but always being happy all the time, right? Just to what you do, and then you always.
Well, and therein is the struggle of like, okay, well, if that's the case, because there needs to be a balance, because if you can just be happy sitting on a park bench.
Some people are.
And they are.
You know, like some people just want to be happy feeding the pigeons. And then that's what they do. They just feed the pigeons and be happy,
so
right?
Then why do guys like us want to be so ambitious, and why are we, or I guess where's the balance of like, because I'm classic for that. I've always thought, oh, I'm going to be happy when I get here. I'm going to be happy when I get here. And I got to top of a ladder that was more than I ever thought I was going to get to, and felt so unfulfilled. And then basically wiped it all clean and started over. But what's the balance now of like, okay, if I know that, that's not, getting to here isn't going to make me happy, then what's the motivation to still do stuff every day and build a business and be successful? You
do, I don't know, it's just part of the journey, I think, and you just do certain things, right? Like this is my concern. I always say, like, if people put too much value into materialistic things and too much value into like their business, or too much value into their house or their car, and that's dangerous in a sense that if it's taken away from you, they take everything from you. I learned this one way. Like I almost got married at one point, and it was interesting because like we had it all. Like, was in love. We were both in love with each other. Like, it was just, everything was perfect, but then it didn't work, and I didn't understand. And then as we parted, it took a piece of me, and I didn't understand what happened. And I came to realize that, like, when you put your love into something else, right? When you put your love, as soon as that thing leaves, it takes it with it. So as soon as her and I were no longer together, she took the love with her, right? Same thing. If you put your love into car or money or as soon as it's gone, it goes with it. Yeah. So what happens is, if you can look for that internal, that love and that happiness within, where you don't need anything, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You just do it because you want to do it. But if they took it away, you'd be like, oh, fuck. Okay, what's next? What's the next journey? Let's do something else, right? And you basically, like, I think I could potentially lose everything and start fresh and start from scratch and still be okay, because I've been there at nothing, and I've you know.
Well, for some
work my
people,
way up.
that's the best thing that ever happens. For me, I got to a point where I built a business, I built a network and everything like that, and I equated my self-worth with that, with all those things. So that was me. Like I literally, those to me were equal as far as my perception was.
Yeah.
That can get taken like that.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It
if
was.
you take
And then
away,
there
they-
goes your identity.
But it was
though.
the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
It was
And that's
right
what-
away. It was the hardest.
and that's what
thing,
happens.
but-
People lose shit and then they kill
like a
themselves.
breakup.
And
It's
I'm
like a
just
breakup, yeah.
they lose all their shit and then they kill themselves. I'm like, why? Why
Well,
would
here-
you
here,
kill
Stevie,
yourself?
Stevie, Stevie, this-
I'm just like, it's crazy, you know, like.
that them killing themselves is like when they lose all those things.
They lose a part of themselves.
Yeah, but they also all that hard work and they're like, fuck, I can't do this. I can't start over again. I can't do it.
I know.
Like imagine putting 30 years into a company that you
sure.
build from zero to whatever, and grinded it out, no weekends, no this, no that, and then it gets taken from you after 30 years. People off themselves.
I understand.
And like I
it.
can actually almost understand that.
No,
I
it
understand
happens.
it.
It happens a
They're like,
lot.
"Fuck it,
It
I'm done."
happens a lot. It happens a lot.
But
a lot,
what
lot.
what Stevie's saying is, it's just like, this is why I love Buddhism, because it's like you can go deeper with it to the point where it's like, this is all just a playground. Like nothing really has significant meaning, and that's up for debate. What is meaning, you would ask at that point. But like, does really anything matter? Like you should have everything, all the tools inside of you. We can produce all the emotions that we're looking for, right? So it's not losing something, it's our perception of that loss that is really the problem. It's not losing your car, it's not losing even a family member or something. It's okay, well, what is your perception of that loss, right?
I like that. There's speaking about having nothing. I don't know who it is. It's either Benjamin Franklin, Nikola Tesla, one of those type of guys. He used to sleep on the ground for 20 minutes or half hour a day during his sleep, because those guys have like weird sleeping patterns. You could
Yeah.
probably Google it.
Like to disattach from things or what?
Yeah, his was like this. So if I lose everything, this is the worst that happens. I have to sleep on the ground.
The Stoics do that. That's a Stoic thing. Do you know Stoicism?
Being
You guys-
stoic, yeah, it's
Stoicism,
yeah,
like it's like
explain it.
philosophy, like
Yeah.
it's like it's a set of it's philosophy. It's like Buddhism, but it was written by the Stoics way back in the day, and the biggest one was Marcus Aurelius. He was like one of the biggest leaders of the world, and he was a big Stoic. Anyways, and I think he wrote a lot of Stoicism, but their whole premise is like, don't get upset on things you can't control. Disattachment, I don't even know if that's a word, but you know, is
Yeah,
it
disattachment is. I think so. Yeah.
Disattaching yourself from things, and there's a Stoic practice of you go like a week, or maybe it's longer, maybe 30 days, where you wear the same clothes, you don't shower, you eat nothing but beans and rice or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's the same practice. It's like to really, and I'm actually thinking of doing it to a certain degree. I mean, nowadays it's hard to function that way, but
You're not going on any.
fasting.
You're not going on any dates that way without bathing and changing your clothes. There, Kaylor Betts.
well,
man.
I can. It just might not be the kind of girls I want to go out with.
Ooh, jeez, that's heavy. Hey, that's
Is it
true.
heavy?
Actually, yeah.
Is that controversial? Did I offend someone?
Yeah, I'm offended.
Yeah, it's a practice to really, it's a gratitude thing as well too, right? And you're right, if you can be happy with nothing, then, like for me, I've kind of thought about like my apartment. I live in a really modest apartment, and I've really struggled for the last 2 years or even longer, like getting a nicer place and moving out, because I could, but I'm like, I just kind of think to myself every time I want to do it, I'm like, why? Like I ask myself why. Like I'm young, I don't have a family yet. Why not put that extra money in the bank? And also, it's not even about the money. It's about
What do you need it
why,
for?
why do I need it for?
Yeah.
And it always, when I really go down to it, I'm like, oh, that's coming from a bad place. It's coming from ego. It's coming from I care what other people think. Like those don't come. I want to get a nicer place because it comes from a place of like, I don't know, just a different change or something like that. But, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a nice place. I've had a nice place in the past, but that was when I couldn't afford it. That's a whole nother story. But anyways.
Yeah, if you're living outside of your means for a place, that's not a good place Like keeping up with the Joneses type thing. It's not good.
No.
Most people do that.
A lot of
That's
people
the thing.
do that.
Most people do that, and they live like it's
Crazy debt and everything.
So nowadays they're saying like, and I do a lot of like research on like what makes people happy and all this stuff, and they're saying that envy is nowadays with social media and stuff is like one of the number one killers of happiness. And it's true. Like I find myself like in some of my most unhappy times, it's me, desire. It's wanting something I don't have, and it's always comes from like, oh, I just scrolled through my Instagram feed like 5 minutes ago and everyone's posting their highlight reel, right? And I'm not seeing, you don't see, that they were crying this morning because they were so depressed, but you see when they, got all done up and took a selfie.
If you take that with a grain of salt, though, you could still look at it and be like...
For sure, and it's just, I think social media is like anything. It's a tool, right? You can use it for great things and you can use it, but it needs to be self-regulated. Like you need to it needs to be controlled, I think, or else it can be a detriment.
like social media needs to be controlled.
No, it's like your
need
use
to-
of it.
your
You
use
need
of
to
it.
control it.
Dude,
Needs
it's
to
like
be.
they have it set up right now where it's like a slot machine. It's just so addicted. Like,
Yeah,
I've been trying
it's
to.
all based on psychology.
Yeah, I had to. The one thing that's helped is I took the Facebook app off my phone. That seems to help because like I'm not as eager to kind of go on the website on my phone. But with the app, it was right there, right?
Yeah,
But
that's a good. Yeah,
the
that's a good
Instagram one probably needs to go off my phone too because that's the other one that I'm scrolling through. But once you get rid of those, because I'll sometimes grab the phone just to see if anyone sent the message. I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I don't need this. I'm like, I'm wasting time. And then when you go through it, you start scrolling, and then you go, holy smokes, I just spent 40 minutes, man. Like, what am I doing?
know.
What am I doing?
I actually had the other day, well, the other month I think it was, but I'll never forget it because it was a shocker. I was looking through my Instagram feed, and it was in between, it was like a work break, looking at my Instagram feed, and like I'd seen all the stories I want to see, I looked at all the photos, and I had been scrolling. I literally put my phone down, and without even being conscious, I picked it back up again, like right away, and went right back to Instagram, and then realized like,
Whoa,
I just was
Put
on
this
that, and I just put it down. And without even being conscious, I picked it back up and did it. And it's like, goes to show you, man, like, it's doing some shit to our brains. I'll tell
Yeah,
you
it's
that.
like I want to go away for a weekend and just
Yeah.
leave my phone and see
Does
how.
that scare you?
A little bit, like
Yeah.
the thought of it actually, like what if I basically break down, or this and that?
Yeah.
I don't have a phone, but I'm just thinking to myself, how did we do it before? Like I could go without a. I could go.
It's the
without a
best
phone.
feeling not having a phone.
Like
I
just
love
It
it.
is, man, yeah.
like I've had the times when my phone died, and I'm like, oh, my phone's dead, and I'm in the mountains. I'm just like, oh, I guess I'm okay, But like to leave it at home, like fully leave it here and just go, and say I don't have it for a whole weekend.
So there's the fear of like, obviously your car breaking down or whatever, but then there's also, for me, I get anxiety just thinking about like who's trying to reach me right now. What if someone's needs to get a hold of me?
Yeah, but like who needs to get a hold of you?
I know, and
Like in
even
that-
like so at night, like I'm weird. I like. Do you guys know what EMFs are? Electromagnetic frequencies.
yeah,
I wear this to stop it.
Oh, we got to talk about that after, or maybe even.
we can talk about that right now.
No.
after. We're on it right now. We're on
Oh yeah,
that
are
shit.
we live?
Yeah.
Anyways, so I put my phone on airplane mode at night because like I keep my phone by me, obviously, for my alarm clock. And even that, I'm sometimes like, as I'm putting in airplane mode, I'm like, what if something happened and someone needed to get a hold of me? But then I think like, how many nights have I slept and no one's ever called me in the middle of the night for an emergency? So it's like,
Yeah, like what's gonna happen?
you just think, and look back at before we had phones. What did they do? Like,
You used to knock on your door.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you'd have to do. I'm like, oh, go check out to see if so and so's home, and they
If
knock on
someone
the door.
really needed
But
to
see,
get
I live
you,
in an
they would-
apartment, so they couldn't get in. That's the
they'd
thing.
figure it out. They would figure it out. If it was like that big of an emergency, they'd figure it out.
That's true.
Like if it was a family member
Yeah,
and it was like, I need to get a hold of Kaylor,
yeah,
they would figure it out.
yeah.
Right? Like emergency, not some dumb shit. Like whatever.
I guess
can
I don't
wait.
know how they figured it out, but yeah, I mean,
I sometimes I let my phone die, like lose service, and I just won't reactivate it for 6 weeks.
okay. Can we talk about this EMF blocker that you got?
You think, eh?
Can we?
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
Okay, well,
for sure.
can I explain what EMFs
Yeah,
are?
yeah,
Because
you
a lot
gotta
of people don't
explain
know.
it,
So, electromagnetic frequencies, all of our technology, from phones to computers to probably these mics and stuff, give off these frequencies that have electromagnetic signals in them. And that's as far as the science that I know. But they're not good for you. Actually, there's a bunch of neuroscientists, I can't remember, but it was in the thousands of neuroscientists around the world that, you know, those Apple AirPods?
And they're saying because they go back, they go through your brain.
I love them. Like
Everyone loves them.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with
You got the pods
Carlito's
on,
rocking them
Carlito?
right now.
Oh, he's got the pods, man. Yeah.
And he's wearing it with pride. I did too for a while. I love them. Like, I loved them. I wore them all the time. And I was worried about the EMFs. And then I heard that they all signed a petition or some sort of document that is heavily warning the public about Bluetooth headphones because, yeah, the EMFs, and like, because like what you said, Stevie, it's like through the brain and stuff like that.
And, well, those ones, because those pods communicate to each other.
Yeah.
So what happens is it's sending a signal from one side of your brain to the other.
Oh,
side
that's
of your brain.
terrible.
So the two ear pods can actually communicate. So that's the problem with those ones. Like, it's not so much that it's kind of, well, it is that it's picking up the Bluetooth signal, but it's just radio frequencies though too. Like,
It is.
Yeah,
Who knows?
cooking your brain.
But they're highly correlated to like cancer and stuff. I mean, hey, when neurosurgeons are, and this isn't like airy-fairy holistic stuff, which, you know, I buy into some of it, but like I'm a holistic guy, but also these are neuroscientists. Like these are,
there's frequencies out there. Like the whole everything runs on vibration.
For sure.
Right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's
so break this
thing.
down for me.
So how does
Very
that work? How
stylish.
does that
I gotta say.
That's a cheap one. The
looks like a police badge. Like,
hey, don't say that. my rap friends won't like that. They always beat me.
Oh shit.
They always thought I was a cop.
Are they okay?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
So how does this block?
It just blocks it, man. Like,
I believe it. I don't.
It's got a
I'm not
piece of
certain,
copper in
but-
it, I believe.
So
and
probably
it's,
magnetically, it just pulls everything to it. Can you wear Bluetooth headphones while you have that thing on? Will it basically kill your signal?
Sometimes it messes my signal up. Yes.
So you can buy like the little EMF detectors or whatever. They got and you could put your phone by it and it would go up.
Yeah.
That's what, like, when some people say like, oh, it's not actually true. Like, no, like there's literally machines that read it.
That little thing, apparently it goes to the vibrance of your body and it puts a block around you.
That sounds like some airy fairy shit.
Yeah.
That sounds. I don't know how that works.
I'm fine with that though.
I'm very open-minded.
You can buy this same brand and you plug it into your wall and it puts a shield around your house.
Yeah, I've heard of these.
Yeah, that's this same thing. This is just the plug in the wall, but like the wear around your neck version.
I think it's all science backed. Like,
Just wear a Faraday cage over your body.
Yeah,
You'll be
seriously.
fine.
Well, hey, you know what?
Just
You
walk
can,
around with a full cage, full metal cage. You'll be good.
Too.
you can get
Chicks love it.
yeah.
Chicks love it.
Yeah, no, I wear this thing because
is it solely for EMFs?
yeah, I've been wearing this thing since 2006.
So you really believe in this more than I do?
Yeah, the shit's terrible for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned that from like
Yeah, where does this come from?
Kevin Trudeau.
Oh, Kevin Trudeau.
Yeah.
There's
Okay,
a
so
controversial
you
character.
guys know what's going to happen now when they're going to start doing, like, we're all going to microwave each other, like
Yeah.
they're with these G5 towers.
Okay.
So G5 towers are basically short frequency towers.
G5.
5G.
Yeah,
I
5G,
mean.
5G towers. They're
Yeah.
short frequency towers. So they have to set up.
We're not
way-
even at 4G yet, though, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are?
But
We're on
then-
4G right
yeah,
now?
So
Yeah.
5G towers are
Okay.
basically short frequency towers, microwave towers,
Yeah, 4G.
and they need those because they can produce more bandwidth between us. So then, if you want autonomous cars or all of this stuff, you need a 5G network. But the thing is, the towers, they need to put way more towers up. So like, because they're short frequency towers, and then all of a sudden you have all these towers that are up emitting microwaves.
Yeah, they're gonna cook us. The 5G shit's not good.
To everybody. So like you're driving around and like the computer, it's great for the computers to work because now you can have autonomous cars and everything would be super accurate.
It's
super
going to cook us as in, like, it's not good for us.
No,
It's
like
going to
cook our
cook you
insides,
from the
like-
inside
like-
out,
like
man. 'Cause
actually
like
cook us.
microwaves do. Like microwaves
that
basically
short.
like they're short
Are you talking instantaneously or are we talking over time?
Over time.
over
Right,
time.
yeah.
But
But
you
we
know-
don't know. We actually don't know because we've never.
Never done it.
We've never
had
had
done
that
it,
many
especially
towers.
at that high volume, right? Like that's what they're concerned
There's
about.
got to be some regulation towards this.
They're trying to figure it out, but like this is what they're trying. This is what the companies are doing because they know that the 5G is going to work.
But how do laymen's like us know anything about this?
There's dudes. I'm not a layman, man. What are you talking about?
When it comes to this shit,
dude, I'm the smartest mother trucker there is. Like,
I've got it all figured out.
Dude, I got all this figured out, man. Like, I helped build this shit. Like, what are you going on?
Are you questioning me? Right
Dude,
now?
yeah, are you questioning me right now? I see, yeah, I know, like, dude, I've been doing some,
I love that line. You guys used that line before in high school.
Which one?
Yeah. Are you questioning me right now?
No, he just came up with that.
Want
Right
to say
now.
that again?
Yeah. No. There's guys that are way more qualified than me, which is tough because I'm probably upper echelon when it comes to expertise in 5G technology. But they're going to governments and lobbying, saying,
Right.
"Hey,
this
like,
is not good.
this isn't good. You guys."
So
need to figure something."
what is your guys' optimism on a scale of 1 to 10 over, let's say over the next 100 years? What are we gonna?
100 years? Look what's happened in the past 100 years.
Oh no, and it's doubling every year because
Yeah.
every new technological advancement that comes out doubles the rate at which new things are discovered. But what's your guys' optimism about? Are we really gonna fuck this all up, or
Oh, yeah.
with technology?
I'm moving to the woods.
The AI is going to take everything over.
Yeah,
That's when we're going to lose
you think
control. Well, yeah, even like
I don't
that's
think
why
in our
Elon Musk.
lifetime though.
That's why Elon Musk is basically introducing a open source AI, because he's hoping that introducing open source AI will help combat Google AI, because Google is the only company
Right.
that's
Yeah,
doing
there
AI.
needs to be some competition.
So
for
someone,
sure.
not even competition, but you need something to combat it, or else you come a singularity. Like once you let it go, it's gonna explode, and you won't be able to catch it.
Yeah, there needs to be almost like that or almost like a hierarchy of, like you can't just let one.
So if one AI starts going rampant, then the other AI could fight it down, right? Like that's what he's hoping. That if you open source it, then you'll have multiple AIs that are meant to compete and work with against each other or for each other. But if you only have one system running,
Will people with these other AIs start wars within each other?
probably.
Because we can't control it at
It's
that
the same
point. So
thing
you
as
have
like
open source AI, which means
would be like viruses and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They'd be planting viruses into the
that's what I'm
AI
saying. Into
system
Google's AI shit.
to fight their Google AI shit.
But it goes back to the same thing in like, for every technological advancement in AI, there is technological advancements in the opposite, like prevention of disaster.
Who
as
says
well.
that? Or
But
who's
no
saying
one's
that?
doing it.
We don't
That's
know.
what I'm saying. But nobody's doing it.
But there's going to be a huge market for it as soon as it becomes a risk.
But if it's not, but that's what Elon is saying. If it's not being done now, it's going to be too late, because
Potentially.
because Google is the only one working on it right now, and they're so powerful right now that if they launch their AI, and you don't have a countermeasure in place,
I mean,
You're in
okay,
trouble.
one of my questions would be, back in the day, I guess where I'm going with this is, what is the, are people good at determining threats in the future? Like, you have futurists and all this stuff. Like, are we good as species at predicting what is in our
As a
future
species, or
as a danger in our,
Look at-
I'm
look
doing
at-
a horrible job at explaining, but do you know what I mean? Like,
Nostradamus.
I
Look at
don't,
Nostradamus.
I got to look into
Nostradamus.
Nostradamus again. I forgot all the predictions.
like
he did.
I'm skeptical about our ability to predict what's actually a threat to us, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we're good at that. And I actually think that we have no idea what's going to happen in the next 100 years, and AI could be the least of our worries.
Are you saying
for all we know?
Are you saying we as laymen,
saying
or
people.
I think there's
Even credible, even like
I think there's
academics and
I think
stuff.
there's a past academics that know exactly what's going on.
There's
This is planned.
there's different levels of
You
human
think?
human
Oh, shit,
evolution.
that's even deeper.
There's even levels. I believe that there's different levels of human evolution, right? Like you have people that are like at the bottom of the totem pole. Then you have the majority that's in like kind of the middle, and then you have like this small select group of people who are just fucking
Genius
retarded
level?
smart, where they just know shit. Like they're probably not part of social or anything, but their brain works
Yeah.
on a different level that you're just like that they've evolved in that different level, and those are a lot of times those are the guys that are creating all of this shit a lot of times, but not necessarily running it and controlling it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Which also makes me think though too that
Because
I also realized too.
I know what you're about to say, but yeah.
They don't have the EQ to.
Yeah. There's some nerd in a
They don't
cubicle
have
just
the
nerding
emotional
out. They don't have the
intelligence
face.
to be
Yeah.
the powerhouse.
That's why. Who was it?
Sorry, Stevie.
no.
Wrong.
During was it Google Talks or when Apple talked? It was Steve Jobs was the one doing the
Yeah.
talking in front of people, but there's a bunch of other nerds actually building the shit, right?
Yeah,
but
like
he was a nerd
Wozniak.
too, man. He
Wozniak
knows,
was the brains behind all the tech.
Yeah, he never would really
Steve
talk,
Jobs
did
is
he?
just no.
Steve Jobs was the face, and he did a great job on those.
That's why emotional intelligence is
The
way
EQ's
more
Powerful?
powerful. Might be a fair word for it.
But I also think that there's also a balance.
Well,
Like
not
everything is in
powerful.
I
balance,
know what you're
right? So
saying.
like
Influence.
a lot of that stuff with the yin and the yang, there's always a balance. So like if it gets too powerful, there's always going to be someone at the top who can actually have the power and the ability to make a change and do it. They would just have they're going to be faced with that choice and have to make
Right.
it, right? It's like in any type of, like when evil arises, there's always 2 or 3 people that are around the inner circle that can be like, we can stop this. We
That's
should
true.
probably stop this,
Yeah.
right?
My worry, like for my biggest worry, honestly, out of anything, is our reliance on power and technology. Like,
One EMF, everything's
yeah,
done.
like
We're
as
toast.
soon as the power grid goes out, like,
Well,
One solar
we're
flare.
good. We got some stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah?
he's talking
I-
about his
well,
Baghdad battery.
yeah, well, I need to get in on this because I'm thinking about digging a hole and getting some sustainable food.
Dude, your boy's already on that level, man.
I know. I yeah.
No, you don't think I have a hole somewhere in the river?
Well, I
valley?
don't
You guys
wanna-
kidding me? Like,
I also don't want to live in fear. I mean, and I don't. But if
Well-
there is one thing that worries me, it's that.
you know what probably set you off was your boy from Skip the Dishes in the
Oh
full
my
mid.
God.
Oh, did you see him?
Yeah,
He's the
I
one who
think we all have.
You're the one that talked to
I
him.
think I was the OG. I think I was the
Dude,
first one to see him.
we were in the bubble tea when the guy showed up, and we're just like, I'm like,
I thought he was doing a jihad. I thought I was dying. I thought I was dead.
Okay, so you guys asked about cults before. I bet you we should let people know what we're talking about.
Okay, yeah, the story.
okay.
Can I?
Yeah, you tell the story because you were freaked out the most.
Yeah.
Well, I was shook, man.
Yeah.
So Steve and I, we're sitting at bubble tea. We're having a nice romantic evening at bubble tea
But
together.
Beautiful.
You got
It
to
was
now.
romantic,
You just
I had
you
his,
just ruined the whole
Were the
thing.
lights
now.
dim?
We had Lovino. It was
You guys having a heated debate?
we were having a heated debate, kind of like this. I have no vino. Fuck. Anyways, it was chocolate coconut sago. It was good. Anyways, you had strawberry something. It was
We were
good.
waiting. We ordered bubble tea, and we were waiting.
The
there.
lineup was out the ass.
The
too.
lineup was out the ass, and we were waiting to get our bubble tea, and we were sitting there waiting, and this guy walked in
Well, I
with
started,
a bag. He had a bag. in
Yeah,
his
this guy had a skip the dishes bag, and when you deliver skip the dishes, you have to have like one of those heat.
But you didn't know it was Skip the Dishes bag at first. We
At
couldn't
first,
tell
it
it
was
Skip the
just
Dishes.
a bag. But
Just
this guy's wearing full
camo gear,
military fatigues,
with the hat and the balaclava,
like
and
little fake grenades on his chest. Like
and
what
It was
were
like,
those?
He
like
was
a
wearing a
desert,
vest.
like
It was a
an
desert. It was desert fatigues.
Desert Storm fatigue. kind of
desert
thing,
storm
yeah.
fatigue.
Fatigues. They're called army
Like
fatigues.
army
Oh really?
fatigues.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
So he had,
But he had the boots too, with the pungies, like the anti-pungy boots. Like he had his full.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
oh,
full,
yeah.
and he had his
socks.
cargo, like well, not
But-
his,
but
his vest on.
Yeah, and didn't you see all the wire? Like they were
Yeah,
just they were wires to his tools, I believe, but he had like wires.
Yeah, he had
coming
wires
out of
on
his chest.
chest.
I thought he had a bomb on himself.
That's what
I
I
literally
thought.
did.
That's what
Did
we
you
thought
think
right
that-
away.
Okay.
I thought that too. I'm
I
just
thought
like,
he had
and
a
then we got
bomb.
the bag, and then I'm like, oh, he's working for Skip the Dishes. Like, so I'm like, he's okay.
No, I
Yeah.
thought he was. I thought the
But he
skip
was
the dishes
nervous.
was a ruse, and that's
Yeah.
how he got in
Right.
to the place. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's skip the dishes guy, a little weirdo."
Me and Cameron just
We
nonchalantly
look
looked
at
at
each
each other,
other.
and we just walk outside. Both of us, we just walk outside, and we're just like,
I'm shook.
we haven't said anything yet. We just walk outside together, and we're just like, yo.
I thought I was gonna die. I literally thought this guy was gonna and chuck a
I think
grenade or
everyone
blow
did. Yeah,
himself up.
everyone did. I was with my buddy Hanak. Shout out to Hanak.
Well, I put a just to add to the story is I put a Facebook post up or
About it?
Instagram video
about it.
about it.
anyone getting
and then
skipped the
you-
dishes, be careful. Watch out for this
Right.
guy.
And then you called me because of the video.
No, I didn't see the video.
Then why did you phone me?
because you saw him,
No,
No, you called me because you saw the video.
you said, yo, I just saw
I
your
You're
don't
like,
guy.
yo, I just saw that guy with
I
age.
don't remember seeing a video.
It was just a little video of me
Really?
talking, driving.
Probably it was during one of these.
It was probably one of the
situations.
scrolls.
Yeah, unconscious
Just-
scrolling.
Yeah, because you said you talked to him. Because you
Yeah,
said that you
Yeah,
talked.
Yeah,
so
what's your side of the
my
story
buddy
now?
Hanak, who like shout out to Hanak.
Yo,
He,
H is sick. I like
H
it.
money, HO.
Yeah.
One of my best friends. He is a guy that like and this is no shock that he did this, but he immediately like wanted to, like, I'm thinking of running out, but I didn't want to run because I would be embarrassed, and no one else was running out.
Were all of you guys in the place? Were you at Beirut, Chateau
Beirut?
So are all you guys there looking at each other like?
Yeah, everyone was, and there's like young girls there, and they were like freaking out.
So everyone was getting weirded out.
Freaking out, and but Ho, like, as much as he, you know, he's brave, but he knew what was going on, I think. Because the guy had, what did he have?
It said
on? Infidel.
Yeah, but they wear those. Army guys wear infidels.
Okay.
Infidel things.
I think he just knew. He knew as soon as he saw him. He knew, like, oh, these are the. And you guys asked about cults before. I'm pretty sure this is probably. They probably have a leader who's feeding them all this stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Keep going.
And anyways, yeah. So he and H just had to talk to him. Hanak had to talk to this
What
guy.
were you doing? Were you face palming at the table like? Oh, dear
yeah,
God.
I was like, H, don't, man, like, don't talk. And of course,
don't set him off. Don't piss him off.
yeah, like, and this guy walks to the bathroom towards our table, and he goes, I have to ask, you know, and then this guy starts talking, and he's got a French accent. And he's actually a nice guy. Like, he was very respectful.
They always are.
Yeah, you know,
John Wayne Gacy was nice. He played
nice.
with kids, dressed
And
up
he
as
was
a
like,
clown.
you know, I just in case anything happens, I want to be prepared, and you know, and then H speaks French, so he's, you know, talking to him in French, and so I missed most of the conversation, but what I gathered out of it after was that, yeah, he just very respectfully said that, you know, he wants to be prepared if anything happens for his family and all this stuff, and yeah, that was about it. But it was just interesting to see that he actually was, quote unquote, like a normal, like, if he wasn't wearing that and you just had a conversation with him, you'd be like, this guy doesn't seem off his rocker.
So why was he wearing full-on desert fatigues?
Because they have a very pessimistic. They believe that.
There's a group of them.
Yeah, there's a group of them, and I think that's what Hanak had said. That they just believe that, you know, we're trending in the wrong direction, and some crazy shit's gonna happen, and they want to be prepared when. And he probably has it all laid out, and he probably has a hideout outside the city, and.
Well,
you know.
I've talked to him about this. I want to start going out to the mountains to just start teaching myself how to survive.
Training, yeah.
Survival training. So like bringing the car out there and bringing a rucksack or whatever, and going out like 100 yards or 200 yards, and then slowly shrinking the rucksack, make it smaller and smaller and smaller,
Yeah.
and then going deeper and deeper and deeper into the woods to see if you can, like, eventually just go out there with, like,
It's a good idea.
a hatchet.
I would take a course first.
Yeah,
You'll end up on the news. Like, I don't want to end up on the news with you like that. Like,
I've taken hunting courses. I know how to
Hamiltonian men disappearing
I heard
down.
someone said I was listening to a podcast. Someone said that everyone should have a backpack full of 3 days worth of food and water, and I think that's a good idea. That's as far as I'm gonna go at this point. I don't want to be like too pessimistic and live in fear, but I think it's a good idea to have, you know, even if just the power goes out or something, like 3 days.
That's going to be the biggest thing. If they're
Yeah.
if we ever get attacked, that's the best way to do it. Is just not.
Well,
if
that's
you
where
knock out the
terrorism
power,
is
if you
going.
knock out the power, now what?
That's where
You can't go
terrorism is
hunting.
going.
You
yeah.
can't go hunting. You can't go. You can't. Like, you're gonna go outside. Like,
What do you mean you can't go hunting?
You're in the city, man. You're gonna have to go out into the bushes. You're gonna have to go out. Like, you can't. Like, in the city, there's nothing here.
Yeah, if
What are you
there's
gonna-
no power, then there's no commodities that you can't get.
all
gas,
the
you
food
can't
goes
get,
bad because all the fridges went down. So everyone's.
Oh
like,
yeah, I think I've experienced that before.
Yeah, did you not experience like
I don't
raw
know.
fish
I don't
at
know.
one
Is
time?
that what happened?
I don't know. I was in Cuba. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened there.
This guy moved in. And I said, I'll give you 10 days. I'm gonna go to Cuba. I'll give you 10 days to kind of get settled in. Blah blah blah.
This guy cuts the power while I'm in the
Power
place.
got cut because he hadn't.
And I just bought like
switched-
$200 worth of groceries,
Yeah,
which isn't a
switched it
lot,
over.
but it was like fish and chicken.
switched it over yet, right? So I hadn't switched it over yet, and it's
That's
just like, and the power gets cut like the day after I left, and so then I had to like go and like put the power back
You know how
on. Well,
Did he
ridiculous
pay you
this
back for
situation
that
was?
or what?
while I was in Cuba, I'm like trying to get the power back up and running, and
It
then,
wasn't because we needed verification, all this shit. And I'm holding out. I'm like, every day I'm going to the freezer and I'm opening it up. I'm like, okay, little fish, you can just wait. The power will come. It'll get cold again. Don't worry.
there's still some ice
Hang in there,
here.
buddy.
Hang in there. And it was still a little bit of ice and like a little bit of soupy
smelled,
wetness.
Man. I got back.
Anyways,
so
he gets
stinky.
back. It's hot fish in the fridge and
That's
shit.
funny.
Yeah.
My
It was all
watered.
It was all watered, and then
at
the power
bottom.
came back, so it was all stuck to the thing. So I had to like take it out and let it heat up outside, and like because now it melted and then froze. To
Yeah,
the
it
bottom.
melted and the power
And
kicked
then
back
it
on and then
froze.
froze into
It's just like a fishy puddle.
Oh
I'm
my
like, it was
God.
disgusting.
fish
man.
block.
disgusting.
It was so gross.
I think
It was bad.
you know, you have the power thing, you have asteroids, you have climate change.
We
you got
talked
all
about
these
this
different
too. We
things.
talked
AI.
about this too. Like when these have these massive catastrophes and stuff like that. You know, like let's say for instance you have a catastrophe and nothing can be for 50 years or 60 years. All of a sudden that generation doesn't know how to read
Right.
hard
yeah.
drives or computers or anything because they don't have the technology
I know.
to do it and how to make computers and all that stuff like that. So like
That's
like,
a possibility that we could just get knocked way back to like the Stone Age, like, you know, and it's gonna
That's why
it's
books
gonna
are
wipe
gonna
out
be
a
so
bunch of
important.
people. It's going to, you know, start us from scratch again. I think where my optimism comes from, I heard someone say this. If you look at it statistically, it actually, I guess, breeds optimism because if you really look at like the whole span of humanity, for us to think that a apocalyptic or a catastrophe is going to happen in our lifetime is statistically actually very, very
like,
small.
No.
Very small.
We're in a golden age right now. Like in terms of like how everything kind of cycles.
Yeah.
And how society cycles. You
Yeah.
go through like, you know, the different ages, the silver age, the gold age. After the gold age, you go right into the stone age again.
But
like-
who says we're in the gold age?
That's the thing. Like, who knows?
But
like,
that's up for debate.
that's
What
up for
I'm
debate
saying is
because
like, if you
even
just
when the pyramids were up and stuff, they saying that was
Right.
the other gold age, right? Like that was
Right.
the other golden age when basically those pyramids were.
But my debate to that would be like, who says we're in the gold age? Like we could keep advancing to the point where the gold age could be in 500 years or 1,000 years, right?
Mhm.
So I guess what I was saying is, and this is someone way smarter than me who said this, but he's like, statistically, if you just look at how long humans have been around, if we think that we're going to have a catastrophe in the time that we're alive, the odds of that are very slim.
What do you mean by catastrophe? Like a black flag type or black
Anything,
plague
like
type
anything that
catastrophe?
wipes us out or anything that,
Would just wipe out history. Like
Yeah.
how long do we actually, like we say we've been here for a long time, but how long do we actually have history for? Like how far back does
Not-
our history
not
go?
long.
Not very long. Like what we have like
although they claim,
maybe 3,000 years. We have history for 3,000 years.
well, it depends what you define by history. Like if you,
Like recorded history, like actual recorded history, as opposed to like
You're not talking like rock sediment?
we're not
Yeah,
talking
like they
rock
know rock
sediment and they
sediments
check
or-
and stuff like that and see
or like
that.
they know humans, or they think they know humans came around like millions of years, like this many years ago. But yeah, just actual written history about culture and society, I think, I don't know. I
Do
don't
you-
know how far it goes.
I think about 3,000. I don't know. Do you think there were civilizations before us? Because I'm thinking like this building that we're in right now. In 3,000 years, would it still be here or complete rubble, complete just done?
Depends what happens.
Well,
Nothing.
I don't
It's
care.
just everyone leaves.
Well, it
Would
decays,
this-
it
Oh, would
decays
it decay?
fast. If you leave, it decays fast for some weird reason.
Really?
Like you go to like some of those like islands in Japan and stuff like that where people just abandon it and then the nature just takes it over and they just totally
But
get
there's
destroyed.
so many elements in this material that not all would decay at the same, or
The brick would be here forever. It would be here for a
I
long
think
time,
so,
wouldn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying because if there was past civilizations that built buildings like this,
That's
are they
that's
still
a good
kicking
point.
around? Or did they
The
go?
pyramids are fucked. Like, I can't wrap my head around.
Dude,
the
there's
pyramids.
lots of shit that's fucking. Have you been to Machu Picchu? Those
Yeah.
fucking rocks are massive too.
Yeah.
Like they're all massive.
I was actually
like,
going to ask about that.
Like I to be honest with you, I think that the giants were around, man. Like how come we're the only
Machu Picchu.
only species that doesn't have a megalithic giant to it
What's
attached to it?
megalithic mean?
Like a giant. Like you look at the megalodon was for the sharks. You had, you know, the dinosaurs were
Well,
for
we
all the
have Shaq.
reptiles. Huh? It was Shaq, you know, but that,
I love Shaq.
You know, with those size of those rocks and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
how do you know we just haven't been downsized? We're just making things smaller and we're
Yeah,
just
well,
getting smaller and
you
smaller.
see, you have the pyramids there.
Pyramids-
you
pyramids
guys
are
have
like,
already thought this shit out.
Pyramids are an energy source, were they not?
That's what they were saying. It was like a
Energy source.
Yeah, like a power plant. So they were coated. So they were coated with like this white limestone.
It was white, red, and black.
Yeah,
There's three different colors of pyramids.
There's granite. They call them
sarcophaguses,
but they're not.
They're like 500-ton granite
stones that are inside. Like we think that. Well, what people think is that they were filled with like some sort of like acidic acid or something that was inside there, and then the whole thing was like a big battery. And then at the top of the pyramids, where they actually the cones were like pure gold.
And they're taken away. If you look at
the gold plate.
if you look at the pyramids now, they go up. They don't go to a point. The caps are taken off. It goes up.
So the caps are removed. So what happens is they think the caps were gold, and then they took them down.
Which is a great conductor of electricity.
Yeah. And with the white, they think that they actually like bounced and reflected. So like I have a feeling that they all worked. The three of them worked in conjunction with each other.
And this is like scientists are claiming.
Yeah. Well, no, they've gone into the tombs, and they've yet
Who's
to.
they though?
Like scientists, archaeologists.
The problem is that Egypt doesn't, like the Egypt government doesn't want anyone to do tamper too much shit with the stuff, because like there's weird stuff they're finding.
Machu Picchu.
Like underneath like some of the like they found whose tomb did they find? Osiris's tomb. So Osiris's tomb has been found in there. They've also found in Egypt. They found Nimrod's tomb.
Yeah, but they didn't.
And then
did they find the person in there? The Americans,
I think the Americans took them. Like there's nothing in there. They say the tomb was empty, but I have a feeling that it was basically taken.
Wow. Nimrod
was taken, and Osiris was taken, and
pyramids are fucked, man.
And they like there's all these talks about like how they potentially like trying to get their DNA and then recreate them and clone them.
Yeah.
You know, which is like that would be wild.
There was a lot of resonance with the pyramids. They use a lot of vibrations with sound and stuff like that, and they're crazy with how they line up with the stars and they line up with the planets. Like I don't know what it is. I think it's Mars, the sun, and the moon are eventually on top of them. Exactly.
Aren't there?
It's like Sirius and like the bells.
I don't know. Like I don't know.
Isn't there elements of the pyramid that's beyond our comprehension?
The whole
and our
thing
ability?
It's Orion's belt. I think those three.
It's Orion's belt that goes on top of it.
There's 3 stars from Orion's belt. It's like matched up perfectly.
It's and like the weird
and also the size of the pyramids is the same size of the Earth, which is like the dimensions are like, they're
just scaled down.
Like the scales of it. There's some weird mathematical shit.
But it's beyond our ability to build nowadays.
We can't build it.
We don't have.
We don't have the technology to carry those big blocks.
And the way the architecture we're talking about those 500-ton granite like sarcophaguses. There's like they found 20 or 50 of them. They said
they had to build around it.
They had to build the pyramids around these big things. Like
that literally proves
you couldn't move them.
That literally proves that back in the day,
the architecture was insane.
That they had more technology in some ways than we do.
Or they were just bigger.
Bigger?
Like just big, massive guys just fucking pick up a big granite stone and just lay it down.
Well, there's probably more things that we don't know how to do than just the size of the blocks. Isn't there more to it than that?
So this is, I think that they had access to vibrational frequencies and used them to move objects. Because this is the part that we have not gone into yet, and the thing that they haven't really discovered. But theoretically, it's actually doable. Where if you can match a frequency, you can probably like match the frequency and then pick it up. Like the whole idea of like Poseidon, for instance, like him and his trident and stuff. That's how he controlled water, and that's how he controlled land, and he moved stuff with vibrational frequencies, right?
Right.
So there's a possibility too that all those stones are being moved with frequencies. And they basically knew how to do that, and they could basically almost levitate the shit and just literally like put them into place, right?
What are they made out of?
What are they made out of right now?
I don't know.
Because couldn't they have made them at the site?
There's two layers of it. There's the
why are we
giant
assuming
stones?
that they moved these?
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I was always wondering, like, I went to a World War I trench, and you know how the sandbags were there? And I'm like, these sandbags are fucking rocks.
Yeah.
They're rocks. And I'm just like, at one point they weren't rocks, they were just sand. You know, so like, who's to say that everything that they've built wasn't some form of concrete, the same way that we do concrete now?
Right.
You know, like, we just don't know how they did it. Maybe they grounded it up and then added water and then just molded it with their hands and had it perfectly set up and with nice smooth lines.
Around 500-ton things?
Why not? The Hoover Dam was built that way. Hoover Dam was built in sections of blocks. They poured in the cement, let it dry, and then they would do next section.
Wow.
So it could have been done the same way, like in terms of like doing it like cement, where they basically grind down the stones.
Like cement.
Good.
Right? Grind down the
You picked that up too,
You
eh?
say
Like
cement
cement.
grind down the stones,
Filled it
add
up with
water,
semen?
add water,
Called it a
and
day.
then let's let it basically form back together. Who knows? Like
Wow.
what? Maybe that's their form of cement back then.
I'm just so excited to see what we're gonna discover in the next 20 years are gonna be nuts. Well, it's all gonna be nuts, but what we're gonna figure out is,
Or we're just gonna get dumber. Like
yeah, I mean, it's one of those
idiocracy
things.
all over this thing.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And
Well, no, like I'm just like everything's becoming so easy that nobody knows how to do anything. Do you know how to fucking build a camera? No. Do you
No,
know
but
how to build a TV? No. Like,
no, for sure, yeah.
we know how to consume one. We know how to use it.
I
We
mean,
don't
like
know how
what
to
we
actually
find
put it
out
together.
about the universe, about people, history, where technology goes. Like it's exciting. It's scary. It's equally as scary as it is exciting. You know?
It'll be crazy in the next
The last couple of years have been really insane.
They have, yeah.
I don't like it, to be completely honest with you.
What don't you like? What,
I see a massive degradation of society, like a very big dumbing down, like a very large dumbing down of people, and I see a large separation of moral, like how people should act morally. Those have gone completely out the window. I'll actually probably get laughed at for saying that.
Well,
Like-
no, it's true. It's been pushed that like those moral issues are completely being destroyed. Like it's anything goes.
There's
now.
there's no right or
accept
wrong.
everything, and there's no right or wrong. Everyone love everybody and accept everything.
But then
and
equally, we've also never seen this kind of like political correctness.
that's
No,
what I mean.
that's what I'm talking about. It's a degradation down of society, in that aspect, as well as a political correctness to a whole different degree, where we're getting to the point of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Where now you can't say anything because now you've offended this little subgenre of a subsection of people who think they're
Oh, it's
parrots.
absolutely ridiculous.
like
yeah.
I offended the trans parrot community, right?
Yeah.
now. There's one dude sitting in his basement, like
He's like, I'm
Yeah.
a parrot. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's pissed off,
He's
yelling at
pissed.
me in
Well,
parrot
I know.
language.
And anytime I talk about this, I always want to give a caveat of like, I literally, as long as you're not hurting me, I support. If it's making someone happy,
You know what? It doesn't though.
You
The
do.
reality of the situation, everyone deserves to be treated with respect. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Everyone deserves to be treated. But they're going through their own
well,
issues. They
I
got
would
their own
even
issues
debate
that
that.
they're dealing
I would
with.
even
like,
debate that. Like,
they don't need someone else to come in there and shit on them for their issues. But like,
Right.
but to get like, I'm not going to participate in a lot of this stuff either.
no,
Like, I don't
and
want to participate.
that
It's
is the
not-
issue.
Yeah.
Is we you know, people can do what they want as long as it's not harming other people. But as soon as there's rules and regulations on
How you are
how
supposed to
you are
participate.
supposed to participate,
Like, yeah, I'm not participating.
Well, you get
in
hit
that.
with hate speech if you don't participate with how they want you to participate.
right?
Yeah,
It's like
I mean,
you guys
like,
know
what-
Jordan.
I'm just like, I'm not delusional.
You guys
on
know
this.
Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
The whole story there. Do you know Jordan
No,
Peterson?
tell me the
He's a
story.
professor at Toronto University. He's like one of the biggest intellectual minds now, and he's getting really famous. And I think he's absolutely brilliant. But there was this class lawsuit, or there was some
Class
sort-
action lawsuit.
No, it wasn't a lawsuit. Sorry, it was a law, or what do you call it? I'm forgetting the word, but it's basically a law that said that you could be punished if you didn't refer to some transgender individuals, if you didn't refer to them by their
proper gender.
name, like some of them were
Their
like
pronouns, they call it.
ZH pronouns, ZHE, and all that stuff.
I don't know. What
That
those are.
that you could be punished for that by not referring them.
Like the professor could be punished for that.
Yeah, the professor or just anyone in any sort of like formal atmosphere, maybe even informal.
I think
I'm
it's
not sure.
I
think it was just no matter what.
yeah.
But I think it was more so informally, now like airlines would have to put, you know, these pronouns on their custom sheet and stuff like that. And it's like, look,
Why does that even matter? Like, why
what,
does that even
what
need to be-
Jordan, why he was controversial, and there was so much protesting, and a lot of the transgender community was upset, but they didn't really understand what Jordan Peterson was saying. Jordan Peterson is not against transgenderism.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it. He's not against it, but you cannot regulate
You.
me. You cannot say, well, that offends them if you don't call them by that, so you therefore have to call them by that, otherwise you're subject to a big fine. That is a dangerous
Slippery slope.
Slippery slope. And where he had a great point was he was talking to a reporter, and this girl reporter said, well, why are you able to risk offending, you know, someone who's transgender by saying, you know, not referring to them in their pronouns? And he's like, well, you're certainly willing to risk offending me in this conversation. It's actually been quite unpleasant for me. And he's like, what gives you the right to do that? And she was like, she literally didn't know what to say. She was speechless. Like she had no rebuttal.
He got her.
He got her. And it has nothing to do with being transgender. I support transgender like crazy. If you believe that you're not you can believe you're a dog. I don't care. Like, if that makes you happy, then great.
Good on you. Yeah.
But you cannot, you know, because we weren't brought up that way.
I'm gonna preface this.
Yeah.
If you believe you're a dog, I think there's a mental disorder there. I'm just gonna straight up say it.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm just gonna straight up say there's some help that needs
mental disorder, whatever you want to call it.
You know what, man? We've talked about this before, though. A lot of that has to do with programming, right? Like, there's some weird shit that has happened to people when they were younger that creates these mental issues in their brain, right? Because it always reflects back to some shit that something happened, someone programmed some stuff inside their brain. We don't grow, like, the only thing, like, for instance, even with the gay community, the only thing that separates a gay person from a straight person is their sexual orientation. Why the fuck does that even matter?
Yeah.
Why does that even matter? Like, why does it even, like, who cares?
I don't care.
I'm just, whatever you do in the privacy of your own home, you do in the privacy of your own home.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't matter to anybody, right? But that's the only thing. So what happens is, what I notice is that that's the one thing that's pushed. And I'm just like, and now you're in this society where everyone's basically having all this stuff pushed on them. I'm like, I had a buddy of mine one time. I used to have to give him shit for this because, like, we would be in a restaurant and he's talking to me about, like, this guy that he picked up at the bar and he's going into I'm like, dude, we're at a family restaurant, bro. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's the matter with you? Yeah. It's like, it didn't even occur to him. I'm like, you got kids laying around over here. I'm just like, even if it was a straight conversation, it's a conversation you don't necessarily should have.
Still inappropriate.
It's still inappropriate. You don't have those conversations out in front of kids and in a family restaurant.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. I'm just like, it's and that's where problems occur, is when basically sexuality just runs rampant. Yeah. And it's running rampant on both sides. Like, it's even heterosexuality has become rampant now.
For sure.
Where people are just having, like, sexual contact with as many people, like, sometimes it's like multiple partners in a month.
Polyamorous?
Polyamorous? I don't think it's polyamorous as much as it's just randoms. Like, just like, polyamory is like being in a relationship and a relationship with, like,
I mean, hey, like, removing the stigmas behind all this stuff is great.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because, you know, the stats on transgenders suicide is super high. I mean, that's a problem.
That's what I said. Like, there's some shit that's like, they don't need people to hate on them. Like, that's not, nobody deserves to be hated on.
And there's two different, like, there's the government telling you what you can say, and then there's being respectful. Like, if a transgender came to me and they said, hey, can you refer to me as, like, stop calling me her, because I'm not a woman, I'm this. And let's say it was they or something. I would, out of respect, I would totally comply with that. But the government now telling us and regulating the way we need to refer to people is a dangerous game. And also with hate speech, it's like, I don't think white supremacist is a good thing. I don't think, you know, if you're a Nazi, I think that's horrible, obviously, and it goes without saying. I don't know how anyone in their rational mind could think that's okay. But when you regulate hate speech, it's like, well, who's defining what hate is? Okay, so if you're like Facebook, for example, like if a white supremacist goes on Facebook and they say something brutal, it's a tough issue, because it's like, okay, they take it down because they're taking down and they're calling it hate speech. Or let's say, like, transgender, or like someone hating against whatever, it's like, okay, but then who's defining hate? Because then it's a thin line. Then it's like, where do we stop? Because hate is subjective to a certain extent. There's obviously extremes, but hate can be pretty subjective. So it's like, what if someone hates on a white male? Is that hate speech?
I think so. I think there's that hate hate doesn't necessarily have to come across with any gender, color, religion, or any. Hate is just it comes from
People say people say dumb shit like reverse racism.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
reverse
that's reverse.
racism.
What do you mean reverse racism? Racism, you idiot. Like,
Yeah, racism is basically like classifying people based on their race.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, like, like, oh, whites, you can't be racist against. Like,
There's
there's a
different
lot of people who are racist against whites.
That's
and think
starting
that white
to become a thing.
And people think
Not
that
to-
white people are
not to-
all white people are exactly the same. And
For
I'm just
sure.
like, that's the
Not
that's
to
the
a point
definition of
where
racism.
I feel suppressed or anything like
No,
that.
but that the suppression, this is the thing. Suppression has nothing to do with racism. Suppression has to do with your own personal mentality of giving power to someone else.
Right.
The only way you can suppress me is if I give you power, making me
Yes.
think that you have power over me.
Well, what about that? What was it? It was an MTV episode, and it was like a whole TV show on it, a 30-second skit, and it was like 20 things white people ruined. But why if you flip that into 20 things Chinese people ruined?
yeah, the
The whole world would go completely nuts.
Yeah,
It
like
was
you can't say that, or 20
And I get
things
why,
that,
like,
any country burned,
because
right?
white people haven't typically or historically been suppressed, or whatever you want to call it. So that's why that's okay. But I agree with you in that I think if we want equality, then treat it equal. Don't put 20 things white people ruined, right? Or
Well, I saw it and I laughed because I knew what they were getting at, but I was like,
for
oh,
sure.
they can't dance, they can't do this, and
For sure.
they're eating chicken with no like.
The reason
flavor
why
on
it's
it.
getting away so much is because that kind of stuff doesn't give them power. Do you know
Right.
what I'm saying? That's
Yes.
the
You know
whole
what I'm
point. I'm
saying?
like, when people put that, I'm not offended because I'm just like, it doesn't define me. It doesn't. That's why it gets away with so much shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm just like,
yeah, I just wish we didn't refer to any. I mean, I know it's such a ambitious stretch, but like, I wish we just didn't like.
We're all
stop.
gonna-
We're talking more about race than we ever have.
Yeah.
That's not progress.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not progress. Let's stop talking about, and I know it's easier said than done, but let's stop referring to, like, everywhere in the news, it's like, we're referring to people in their race.
That's
it's
being
like,
pushed on purpose.
Yeah,
that whole
it's-
to divide us. That's being pushed
That's
on purpose by
that's a divide
those
and
people
conquer.
planning that shit. Because if you own media sources,
That's a conspiracy, yeah.
how do you get
Dude, no, that's how it works. Like I work
Yeah,
in the media, you get a
course,
sheet,
of
like
course.
it comes through your
course.
and you basically here are the stories that are going on, and
Especially in
you
the
basically,
States with the liberal media, like,
yeah, they get a sheet basically saying these are the stories, these are top stories
of
this
course,
year,
and
so
they
everyone
want
goes
to,
on.
they want people to be polarized.
It
That creates viewership,
It creates
it creates-
viewership. It creates tension. Like in any television show, you need a protagonist, antagonist, and you got to flip
sure.
them. And
Yeah, the
and like
heel,
that's-
this, that,
they're-
whatever.
it's all about viewership, right?
Yeah.
Like in the end, that's all it's about is how many people can watch my program, so I can charge advertisement dollars and make lots of money.
Yeah, that's
what
what
it all comes down
That's
to.
what we're doing here, Stevie. So let's get more controversial.
Yeah, more.
Let's make this shit more polarizing. We gotta hit flat Earth. We gotta hit a lot of
Yeah,
shit
man.
here.
You know about the flat Earth? I heard Spenny says you're like a genius,
No.
like you're big.
Oh,
big
No, I'm not. Don't even. I'm not.
no.
I'll tell you this, and I can't even believe I'm saying this.
Betsy, you're on camera. You gotta remember.
I know
And
I'm
see,
on
look at you
camera,
right there, Betsy.
and this is never. I know this is never going anywhere. So, it's once it's online, it stays. I will say this. I went from. I'll put it very simply. There's a gentleman I know who believes that the Earth is flat, and I spent a little bit of time with him, and I have a very open mind to anything. Like,
Hold on, you hung out with them
the
without
reason-
me.
Yeah, no, not.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No.
There's another one.
Yeah, no one. You don't know.
Okay,
who,
yeah,
who
that's
this
fair.
is.
Yeah,
you don't
that's
know who
fair,
this is, and I'm never referring to who he is.
Yeah,
but,
don't do it. Yeah.
I have a very open mind because I do not think that we have any idea, really, when it comes to all of what's going on, and I mean the universe, us as humans, everything. I really don't think we even have scratched the surface on what all of this really is. So I'm very open-minded to anything, right? And I spent a few hours with this individual, and all I'll say is I went from like, that is one of the craziest theories I've ever heard in my life to, holy shit, I mean, there's some good points there. And I went from maybe being like 99%, there's not even a chance, to maybe 90, maybe 80%.
What are some of the points that were really good?
You know what, man? It was a while ago, and I don't even, since then, I told myself after that night that I was going to like dive into it. And then I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. So really,
were you scared you'd start like believing it?
No, I wasn't scared. It actually doesn't scare me at all. In fact, it's pretty fascinating to me. But some of the points were, there's a couple that stand out. There were certainly more that I forget. There was also some scotch involved. But one of them was that on the U.S. military website, there's references, like the official U.S. military website, there's references to the Earth being flat in some of their articles, which was pretty crazy to me.
What's the reference? Do you remember it?
Like literally like scientific, there were some like even charts, like physics charts, talking about the Earth literally being flat, and it was like in plain English language, just talking about a flat Earth. No, that's not a make or break fact for me. Like when I see that, it doesn't mean I'm automatically thinking the Earth is flat, but I'm like, well, that's kind of crazy. And that was one of like 20 things I was shown. And there was some videos too of like people who have done some experiments where they have shot rockets up in the air and had a camera on it and stuff like that. And
you can't buy that stuff though.
Huh?
They can't, like I've seen some of those.
But this is why I didn't even want to talk about it, because you gotta understand, guys. I'm on your side.
Yeah.
And I was saying the same shit. I'm like, okay, but what about this? And he had an answer for everything. I'm like,
they'd be like,
well, what
it
about
hit
this?
the filament. I'm just like, dude,
Firmament.
the firmament. I'm like, it hit the firmament. I'm like, dude, the rocket just literally ran out of gas. And as soon as it ran out of gas, it literally stops in midair.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's
those
like,
are all
and it
valid
starts to fall
points.
down.
Those are all valid points. This is why I didn't want to.
I'm just like,
this is why I don't want to bring up this topic, because I would.
We're trying to get viewership, Betsy.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
let's
of
go.
course.
Like, let's.
But the reason why I don't want to bring it up, because I don't. Since that night, I haven't done any more research. So it was like I learned a bunch of facts that, and I'm a very like, I like to think that I'm easily as skeptical as I am open-minded. I ask good questions.
Yeah. I'm
not naive, and I'm not what do you call it, where you believe everything.
Gullible.
Gullible. I'm not gullible by any means. And I was asking good questions, and he just, he had some answers for it. And again, I went from 99% to like 90, maybe 80.
There's this the biggest thing that they're talking about is the curve. I'm like, you can't see a curve, you can't see a curve. There's two things. I'm like, one, the Earth is fucking massive.
Yeah.
The size of the Earth is massive. So to basically see even a percentage of a curve is like, you'd have to basically see from here to Calgary to see like a 1% curve, if that. Second thing is that light
do we know
gravity,
that? Do you know that though, math-wise? Like,
I did some math
math
to try to figure some stuff out, right, based on the circumference. But even then, like there's certain mathematical things that I'm trying to figure out. Like, how did they figure this out? Like, how did they figure out the distance from the moon to the Earth? Right. The way that they did that is they actually they
triangulated it. Did they not?
So there's a couple things. So how they figured out the speed of light is there's a moon on Jupiter. And the thing is that the moon on Jupiter
has many moons, I think.
Yes, but there's a moon on Jupiter that goes behind, and when it goes behind it, it disappears, and then it comes back. But sometimes it's bigger, like when Jupiter's closer to the Earth. So they started to do the mathematical equations, and they started to realize that, okay, well, if it's closer and the speed from which the light actually hits us from there to when the moon is on the opposite side and we don't get the reflection from there. So they did the math. That's how they got the mathematical equation for the speed of light. And then how they figured out, they've done some triangulations where they basically shoot stuff to the moon and then they figure out the reflection and they time that out too. So they're doing a lot of stuff based on time. So
that's interesting.
I'm kind of learning a little mathematics.
I'm not a flat earther.
Yeah.
I need to.
But the thing is too.
You're open-minded.
I went from thinking this is the most ridiculous idea ever to like, holy shit, I gotta like do a little more research. But I mean, by no means am I
But this
leaning towards.
this is the wild thing, okay? This is the
Yeah.
wild thing. Some of the stars that you see out in the sky,
Yeah.
they're actually behind the sun. But because they actually come and the sun, the gravitational pull of the sun, it'll actually bend the light. So what we see is actually a bent, is from the gravity bends the actual light rays. Same thing happens on the Earth. So the light, you would look straight and you can continue to see forever because it actually bends with the gravity of the actual Earth.
Huh.
So like there's some weird
Gravity,
stuff.
yeah. Dude, say stars that are outside, crazy thing too. Stars that you look outside,
Yeah.
a lot of them aren't even there anymore. You're just seeing a
Yeah,
light
you're
of the
seeing
star,
that, yeah.
and that thing doesn't
That's
even
nuts.
exist anymore, which is
That's
like one of the
nuts.
most crazy things.
Yeah, like.
But
some
how
of-
do you technically how do you know that though? That's playing the devil's advocate. We don't know. They're
And
just-
this is where like they're having, like I was talking to you earlier about like how, because I'm reading this book now called Beyond, was a Brief History of Time,
Oh yeah. I've
where
heard
it's
of that.
teaching
It's a good
the different how the different quantum physics and astrophysics and how they work, and quantum physics and astrophysics are not they still haven't
Right.
agreed on everything, right? So like what quantum physicists are doing are not, they use different rules and regulations that astrophysics use. And they're trying to figure out, this is where they're trying to figure out string theory. The other one is the E8 lattice, and they're trying to get the E8 lattice up and going.
The dark matter.
Yeah, well, dark matter is, they know that dark matter is out there, right? Like you
Yeah,
can,
but they don't know anything about it really.
Yeah, like it's there. Like there's a bunch of shit that they can see.
The universe and everything that's out there in space is to me like the most fascinating thing. Like I would love to just be able to know what is out there more than anything.
I don't think we can. It's
that's
just-
crazy.
Well, I don't think we ever will, but
I want to like I just sometimes just want to be shot in space. I know that sounds
For
like
sure.
the most dumbest.
Well, you will be
ridiculous
able
thing.
to. I think in the next 50 years we'll
Yeah,
be able
yeah.
to
No, I mean
jump,
just like imagine
jump on
if
a
you could
commercial
just, like,
jet.
float around out there.
yeah,
That'd
it's
be
going to
dope.
be commercialized, I think, for sure. You know what? One of the things that
That'd be crazy, man. People are just gonna like want to go up on the on the moon. You're gonna have a commercial jet that sends you
Yeah,
to
we'll
the
be
moon, and just people can
taking
walk
trips
there.
to the moon and
Just
They say
hanging
there's
out,
a
calling,
hidden-
and then there'll be like an actual like hotel on the moon.
They say there's a hidden military base on the dark side of the moon.
It says there's a hidden alien base on the dark side.
Yeah, there's a hidden.
did China put it there? I mean, China reached the dark side of the moon recently.
You think?
They did. That's what
That's what they're saying.
they're saying.
Wow,
China reached the dark side of the moon with some sort of satellite or something.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for the
actually.
first in
Wow.
history. This was like a couple months ago.
You serious?
Yeah.
Shit.
Look it up. You know what? The thought that trips me out the most, more than anything, and if I go down the rabbit hole of even thinking about it, I'm like, my brain gets, and try and stay with me here, but some people I say this to don't get it. But if you really think about it, there's no such thing as nothing, right? So if you were to just take a rocket and just fly it out into space, it's in alignment with astrophysics, I believe astrophysics or science, more generally. It's in alignment that infinity is a thing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
infinite, like because there's no such thing as nothing. So if a rocket ship it will keep going and going and going
That blows my mind. Something going forever?
forever because
That makes no sense.
and
to me.
then someone
Well, we
and-
have that satellite that's out there forever. The
But
Odyssey.
I've literally been sitting with people who say, well, no, like it can't go forever. And I say, yeah, it's infinity.
until something hits it or something.
But okay, maybe it goes into a black hole. But okay, even a black hole is something, right? So that means that, and I've heard like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Like that's
stuff.
crazy. The black hole. Like,
Yo, what do you say?
Think
No,
about
let
it.
him finish.
Oh,
Let him
oh.
finish.
This is the craziest part about it, is that means that technically, if everything is infinite and there's no such thing as nothing, that there is out there, mathematically and statistically,
Are you saying another us?
another us is out there doing the exact same thing. And anyone who says differently, well then you have to prove that infinity is not real, because infinity means it literally goes on forever, meaning that the odds of this happening again and again and again are just
Are infinite?
are in alignment with that.
Would it be infinite? Would there be infinite?
It has
us?
to be. There's no infinity without this happening again. Does that make sense?
Well, that's the whole thing about
Dude, that's
the
insane, though.
dimensional, the different dimensions and things like that too, right?
Right.
there's that whole idea. Okay, so there was this idea here.
No, he's not talking about that.
He's not talking about
He's
that.
not talking about
that.
dimensional
You're
planes.
talking about the same thing as your monkey thing.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like eventually, like if you're infinite, if you had all these monkeys typing on a typewriter forever, infinite amount, eventually one of them would
But
write
just
Hamlet.
grasp our concept for a second. If everything is infinite,
No, that's what I'm thinking
infinite-
about. I don't want to change the I don't change the convo to influential beings. I'm thinking like
That's what I mean.
there'd
like,
be infinite us out there in space.
yeah, because if there's no
doing this.
Because someone might say, well, no, eventually there's nothing. But then you ask the question, well, what is nothing? Like, there's no such thing as nothing. Like, so they say, okay, there's just a big wall that stops everything. Okay, but what's beyond that wall? Nothing. But
Well, what's
nothing
nothing?
is something.
Yo,
there's
that's
the-
crazy,
There was a
buddy.
thing that's like
Carlitos, man.
Doesn't that trip
Holy
you
shit,
out?
that's wild.
Carlitos, man.
No, Carlitos is here. Dude, I wish I had a beer or a scotch. I need scotch.
I know.
Yeah,
Dude,
but
that's
there's
wild.
that. So the thing is with Einstein's theory of like space-time,
Okay.
right? So basically, we move through space. I physically
I've-
move through
yeah, I've
space,
read
and you
about
experience time,
Yeah.
right? In the reverse, what he was talking about is that you have time-space. So then what happens is you move through time, and you experience space. So that's like where everything was like lined up on top of each other, and like how we kind of drew the model where everything is kind of like laid up on top of each other. So like this instant is happening. So everything he says is in constant change and constant flux right now.
Right.
So what happens is you being born and you dying and your moment right now and everything in between is actually happening right now. And every decision you make and choice that you make now changes everything that's happened according to all of those different points in time. So it always happens and it's always happening at this moment.
Yeah.
And what happens is the only thing is that in this spiritual being that you are, you're experiencing space because you're traveling through that timeline.
Through time, yeah.
Through that timeline from beginning to end. But it's all
And
happening.
space is
but it's all
changing.
happening at the same,
At the same time, just space is the change, the variant.
The variance, right? So you're just moving through the space, right? So like
That's
where
fucked.
like if you go
guys
into
are
the other
crazy.
dimension, if you go into the other side, right? So ideally, let's say for instance, perhaps we die, right? The thought would be is that like, okay, now I can relive that whole life from beginning to end. And I think KRS-One one time said this is like inside your brain, you have what's like similar to like a fifth dimension in your brain where like it's not limited by time. So like you can have a memory and think back into time and remember an incident that occurred.
Yeah.
Like you can think about it and with your mind's eye and your mind's ear and mind's whatever, you can physically or mentally go back to that moment. And it'll always, you can change it. You can always change that memory, which is interesting because you can change that memory because you can remember it and then add a little variance to it.
Which we actually do. Science
You do.
shows that we do.
So all of a sudden
change
that memory
memories.
changes, right? That memory changes. And the same thing happens with the future. You can go into the future and you basically can imagine a future that's going to come, right? And into fruition. The more clear that vision is, the more likely it will come true. So if you can imagine something in the future and you see it like vividly and you see all the different points and you see it more accurate, that's how you manifest things. 'Cause you
Oh, and is that because that's a memory? Are you trying to tell us that the future is a memory?
No.
No, it's
Or is
just
that went wide over
move
my
into
head?
that direction, right? So what ends up happening is like into
increases
that
the
vibration.
chances
It
of-
increases the chance of
if,
that happening.
If you
Okay,
imagine
that's
like
cool.
that whole space-time thing where there's multiple levels of you, there's a version of you that's fucking super, beat up and decrepit and got his ass kicked, and then there's a perfect version of you, and there's everything in between, right? So your job is to basically channel through this frequency and get to that perfect, most version of yourself,
Right.
up to the top, and it goes infinitely, right? There's like levels of you that like you could be in the best shape of your life. You could be like, there's infinite amounts of possibilities for you. But whatever you want to move into, you have to move through that frequency,
Right.
and move yourself up. So in order to get tuned into that frequency,
You have to think
you have
about
to
it.
think about it, and you have to imagine it, and you have to visualize it, and you have to see it, and then you start moving towards it. And then all of a sudden it becomes a reality. All of a sudden you just say,
That makes sense.
So if you want to be super ripped and jacked, you just say, I'm super ripped and jacked.
Right.
And then you do everything that that super ripped and jacked person does. And then you just, your environment.
Well, and
When your
it's like
environment
the
just catches up with you.
reticular activation system, whereas as soon as you think of something, you look for other things that are connected with it. It's like when you buy a new car. If you buy a Mazda 3, you all of a sudden see all
Mazda
the
3s
Mazda 3s out
everywhere.
there.
Like I've never seen a Fiat Spider before. And then I bought one, and then I would see them everywhere. And I was just like, this is a Fiat Spider. I didn't even know people even
I
had
don't even
this
know
car.
what that is, but that sounds nuts.
Yeah, it was just like, it was like a little small convertible car. Like I saw one in randomly.
Was it Italian?
Yeah, a little Italian.
A little Italian,
Yeah,
a little
fix it again,
Fiat.
Tony.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that shit trips me out. The space thing. Sometimes I go down the rabbit hole of thinking like, that's why I think we know nothing. Because when you think about shit like that, when you think about infinity,
You know, there's bigger. You know, there's more than one type of infinity
There's
too.
infinity plus infinity.
Fuck.
There's different infinities. You can go like an
I
infinity.
don't know if I'm even ready for this thought.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. You can go like infinity.
Like mathematically, they can go more than infinity.
But how is that even possible?
You just add one,
You just add one.
and then you could take an infinity and then
doesn't
plus
that,
infinity.
Doesn't that disprove infinity? As soon as you say there's more than infinity, doesn't that disprove?
Mathematically, infinity is represented by a symbol, right? The symbol, right?
Yeah.
Infinity, the same symbol we have
Yeah.
here. And you add one to that.
But that's
It's
just the
more than
formula.
infinity.
That's not the actual.
But that's what I'm
reality.
saying. Mathematically, everything that they figured out is only based on math,
Right.
right? Everything that they've
Well, it's based on, yeah.
So the thing is
But
that
that's
what
not
if
based
our
on reality.
mathematics are completely wrong?
Yeah, I know.
You know, like who knows? Like,
But to
everything
me,
is based on
infinity
math.
is just a concept. It means that
It's also
it
math,
never
though,
ends.
too.
Not in math.
Math
it's an
is
actual,
1,
it's-
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
it's
9,
fu-
10, 11,
it's-
12, 13,
it's-
14, 15.
Right.
It goes on
But all
forever.
those numbers. Okay, but
You're looking at
three is not a. Like infinity is a reality. Infinity is a concept. Is 3 a con? Yeah, 3 is a concept.
I
or
could-
4 is a concept.
So 3 to the 3.0 forever
Yeah.
infinity. That's what be, right? But then you can go 3.0 infinity plus 1.
But plus
That's
1
a
is
different-
just part of infinity to me. It's just part of.
Well, I can
You know what
improve.
I mean? Do you know what I mean?
I could prove that from here to here is an infinite amount of space.
No.
Yeah.
To me, that disproves infinity because infinity just means there's no end. So
There isn't an end.
There
infinity,
isn't an end. From
infinity
here,
would
from
be
here, no.
move your other.
So this is the thing. From here to here,
Yeah.
there's no end.
Right.
Like no, from here, like even though we can physically see it outside of infinity, inside there, there's no end.
Oh, show. Watch this. Look at this. So let's say I got to take this dime,
Yeah.
and I say, hey, Betts, we're gonna take this dime, and I can prove to you it cannot ever get to the end of this.
Okay.
So I go like this. I say I'm gonna just put it half the distance every time to the end.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go half. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I just go from half of that distance, which is around there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm gonna go half that distance, which is about there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna go half that distance, which is there.
You'll never hit
And then
the
I'm
end.
gonna go half that distance, which is there.
Well, if you're moving
And half.
forward, it will eventually hit.
Never.
No, it can't because
Never?
you can always have
Never,
something.
because the number goes infinity into a smaller
I could
number.
always go half.
This is where the whole thing of infinity is. So like even though there's infinite amount of like
But
infinity,
to me, that's not infinity. That's just.
this is where you wrap your head around it. But like
I know,
literally,
but
like,
it's like
it's
infinity.
crazy.
I'm
But
trying to
me, it's
quantify
just-
it
there's
for
an
you.
infinite.
I know,
there's
and
an infinite
I get
amount
what you're
of
saying.
numbers inside that. Inside. That's where it's inside that space.
Right,
From there
and
to
that's
there,
where
there's an infinite.
theoretically I could say there's an argument that that's infinity. If, yeah.
I know
Right.
you're saying infinite's like
Infinite just,
That goes
infinite
on
to
forever.
me,
What
in
the
my
fuck?
brain, means there's no end.
Yeah.
It just keeps going and going and going. I'm pretty sure that would
But that's-
be in
that-
that
alignment.
is
that's
that
what
that
that is.
would
There's
just
no
keep
end.
going and
There's
going and
no
going.
end.
There would not be an end.
But there is an end.
Where?
No, there's no end.
But if
You'd never hit it.
if I told you that you couldn't do the half thing, you would hit it. So that's why I think it's not infinity. If I said you had to double it,
What do you mean double it?
if I said that you have to, if you go half, or if I just said that you have to go 2 inches
Every time you eventually hit the end.
you'd
yeah.
eventually hit the end. That's why I think that mathematically right there disproves that that's not infinity.
But
Or
perhaps that's
disproves that
perhaps
it's
that's what
infinity.
happens with the universe as well. We just don't know the distance.
Perhaps.
So mathematically, we're
Perhaps.
just like an infinite amount, but like there is an end. There could be maybe the firmament is around.
But
the whole
what I'm
universe.
saying is, what is the end? There's no, like I don't think we can comprehend what an end means. Like
No, I agree with you. I don't.
know what I mean?
What the
Like,
fuck? Is it just a
they're
big?
just what is
like-
it? Just like someone would say, well, there's nothing, but okay,
Nothing,
nothing
something.
is made up of particles.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, we don't know that.
It might even be made up of something else. that
What's
we
a
don't know about.
what's a black hole? Is that even part of like what is
black
it? We
hole
don't.
is a gravitational pull that basically nothing can survive in. It's just
Yeah, but what's
it's
made?
it's matter.
What is made in a black hole? Like what is in it? You don't know.
It just sucks everything in.
Sucks everything in.
That's what I'm saying, but no one knows. No one's ever been there and been like, oh yeah, this is what it is.
Sucks everything in. They just
all I know is that like there's no such thing as nothing. At least I don't think.
I don't know. We don't know. There might be something called nothing.
We're just a few laymen's over here.
I know, a bunch of fucking laymen's.
What did Alex Jones say? I'm retarded.
Oh yeah, Alex Jones.
Because I'm fucking retarded. Joe, I'm a little retarded.
Joe, I gotta tell you something. I gotta be serious here for a second, Joe.
Fuck.
I'm a little bit retarded.
He almost died.
Did he say that on Rogan?
Yeah, he said that on Rogan.
Rogan always says that. He goes, who knows? I'm just a retard, right? But then, the way he said it was like, yo, I gotta tell you, I'm a little retarded.
Yeah. I saw
Joe
that.
lost his.
Joe
passed out.
Dude, I almost fell off the chair when I saw that.
That is.
Dude, I got tuned in. I got dialed in for 5 hours of that shit.
Do you guys like Rogan?
Yeah.
I like watching Rogan.
Yeah, it's fun.
He's got some people that are on there that have some good conversations. I think he knows more than he lets on.
Yeah.
I think he knows quite a bit.
He's a smart dude.
Well, he knows quite a bit. Like
he's also I find him a very rational dude. Like, and I like how he welcomes all walks. Like, you know.
Yeah, I think he has to walk that though.
Huh?
Yeah, he has to walk that.
But
he has to walk that fence because he's on liberal media. He can't deviate too far to the right.
He's not on liberal media.
He's on YouTube.
Yeah, he's now on a point where like if he does something too wrong, they'll pull him.
You're right. Yeah.
So
okay,
now he's
fair.
dependent on them. So now they have control.
Right.
That's the scary part. It's like now they have control. Right? It's like he gets
all his shit's hosted on.
Yeah, you're right. And because I always hear him say, no, don't put that up because YouTube won't like it.
Yeah, he's scared now. Like there's certain things like don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
He doesn't want to get the flags. There's lots of things that can get flagged, and then even certain things he says can be deemed as hate speech.
And they wouldn't just flag that one video.
Yeah.
The way that those power guys work, they flag the whole channel.
The whole shit.
Right.
And they'll pull a whole channel down just to
I
have
mean,
like that's the weird shit that those power guys do in Hollywood and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with they want to control you. Like they make people do weird shit to get parts and to do this because they want to they get off on like having control over people.
Aren't all these media companies owned by conservatives, but yet it's liberal media? Like you're not telling me the board of like these news stations or YouTube or whatever are liberals. Do you know what I mean? But they push a liberal agenda. Do you know what I mean?
because they're trying to divide people.
Right. So they know what they're doing.
It's like a chess game.
It's like a divide and conquer thing, right? So the more people that they divide, it's easier for them to move through the chessboard.
It's super diabolical and like extremely intelligent.
It's like you got to remember, like the guys who are basically pulling the strings have like a 50.
But you can do that.
Agenda.
Look at Fox News. You can do that on the right too. You don't have to just do that with liberal.
Yeah, but
you
it
can
depends
divide
on who owns
the right.
Fox News. It depends on who owns Fox News, who's trying to push the agenda.
I think conservatives own all of it. Like, do you think any of these big companies are owned by liberals?
It's kind of like putting Adidas and Nike together. It's almost like the same.
But what I'm saying is, you can divide through the media just as much through right-wing ideologies as you can left-wing ideologies.
I think left is doing a lot more dividing than right.
There is, because there's more of them. But like, let's take the States. Fox News is the only like right-wing media company or big company, and then all of them are liberal.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
like how many more people are? So
rest.
if you go conservatives, for instance, conservatives have a specific way of thinking, and they all usually think the same. Mm-hmm. Liberals, they can think any which way, and like there's a fucking multiple ways that they can think. They're just trying to get there's liberals are more about like I can do whatever I want.
They go with more like feeling type stuff than logic. Right. It's emotional versus
logical. But it's still all the same issues. They still have the same stances.
So there's more within the liberals.
Yeah.
There's more people to divide there. It's a lot easier to divide a whole whack of liberals than it is to divide a bunch of conservatives, because the conservatives technically usually think the same.
You think there's more liberals than conservatives?
I think it's easier to divide liberals than it is to divide. It's easier to create more controversy with liberals than it. What are you gonna say for like conservatives? They're conservative, so like there's not much you can say to divide them.
Yeah.
They're pretty much they know what's in the book, and they know
where they stand on.
They know the rules. They know the stat. They know the systems. They just like fucking the turtle and the horse. They're just tortoises. Just.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if you look at Fox News, they do it from a right stance, like from right wing.
Dude,
so you
Fox News. I just saw dude. there was a post on Fox News. They're a bunch of idiots. There's a post on Fox News that U.S. is banning one of the third
Hey,
Mexican.
hold on one
Mexican
sec. Hold on one
countries,
sec.
I'm just like,
You
what?
saw that on either Facebook or Instagram. Was that Photoshop?
Oh, that's a good point. Who
No,
knows?
no one looked into that.
I
Was
saw
it?
that on. I actually heard it on Trevor Noah, who's like super liberal.
Trevor said it.
Trevor Noah.
Well, they would check it on that source
They
on the
would,
Daily
yeah.
Show. They would
Yeah.
check it on. I'm just like
3 Mexican countries.
the 3 Mexican countries.
No,
I'm
I
like,
could
oh.
totally see Fox News doing that, man. Like they say some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like what bothers me is that journalism has become a joke. Like
Yeah.
being a journalist means you did your research and you couldn't run anything because if you ran something that was false or you could get sued.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just fucking they were watching their Twitter feed on the air and they were all just fucking reading their straight out Twitter feeds and passing the buck. Oh, this person said this on a Twitter feed. This person said this. And I'm like, they're doing this on the air. They're not even researching. They're researching Twitter as it goes.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I'm just like, how is this allowed?
It should need to be
Regulated.
fact
Yeah, that's
checking.
when I'm talking
Regulated.
degradation of society. I'm talking like people don't even read articles.
Yeah.
They don't even know what the article is. They just read the headline of the article, and it's just
make opinions based on that.
For
Like,
sure.
not even reading a full article, and the article can be complete bullshit.
Well, and it's getting scary now because we have the technology to literally take a video of Trump or whoever and literally make a video about them saying something that they
They didn't say. They just
They didn't
edited it
say.
together.
Yeah, you just
and-
cut it away. Like I've seen those cuts. I'm like, whoa, that was well done. Like where you cut it, like the April Fool's one from last year,
I don't know what it was.
where he said he wasn't running, but someone put that out.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. And I'm just like, wow,
I
this
think
was
I saw
well
it.
edited. Like I can see where the edits were, and I can see where they layered stuff. Because when you're cutting audio together, you have to cover the edits, right? But you can cover it by showing, people
The
in the stands,
crowd
the
or
crowd,
something.
so it looks like it's legit, right? Because we're just accustomed to seeing that. I can see where the edits are. I can see what that. Oh, I didn't physically see his mouth say that, so I know that they
Yeah.
basically pulled that from somewhere else. But what's even scarier now is with the digital technology, Photoshop can be done, video can be manipulated, and now audio can be manipulated. They can take your voice inflectuations, and they basically sample it, and then you can just type
Like
out
that
whatever
is-
you want to say.
Where's the end of that? That is scary. Like they need to do some major regulation on that. That's
I don't
where
think they've
I'm
released
thankful.
it yet. I don't think Adobe released that yet because I think that's one of the.
But we're
concerns
gonna
they
get
have.
there. It's inevitable.
They have it. It's done.
Yeah.
They have it. They've already done.
It's
like,
gonna become
they've-
mainstream. At
You
some
won't even
point.
need you won't even need actors. And coming from Steve's
just-
industry,
my
is
industry-
let's say you need a voice clip from a client. All you have is their voice and their Adobe, and it's like, oh, you don't need to come and record on the camera.
No,
on the
worries.
microphone.
I'll
I can
just cover whatever you didn't say. I'll
What's
just
the
put it in.
script? I'll just write it in. I got it. It's fine.
So where's the line of what's legal and what's illegal to do that?
Yeah,
And
well, you're
that-
creating
that's-
something, right? Producing a message. That's all I do is I just produce a message.
Of course, yeah.
Because I literally sit down and interview people, and then I listen to them, and I'm listening for sound bites that I can take what they said and create a message based on what they said. It's not what they actually said.
Right.
Like I know that. Like
And
people don't know
but
that.
then there's the thin line because, if when the Thought Exchange becomes as big as Joe Rogan show.
Dude, what are you trying to say?
I said when.
No, like
Or are you already as big as Joe Rogan?
what's going on?
We
here?
are. You just don't know about
You
it.
just don't know about
questioning
it.
me?
You just don't know about it.
Are you questioning us? What's going on?
They
Are
could
you-
piece
are
together
you-
stuff that we say.
I could if I knew what I was doing, I could go on and I could make you say something
Cam
that's
said
so
this.
offensive.
Yeah, they just take
and
it,
put it
whatever.
on social media and you're.
That's the risk you run. You just run that, but like whatever.
And how do you prove that that's not true? If it's a well edited video, is there ways to prove that that's not true?
Who
I
cares?
think you get a
What's
bigger.
the defense in that?
Who
your-
cares?
I think your
That's
defense.
that
What do you mean?
though.
Who cares?
I think your defense is you've built up such a brand and such an audience about yourself.
That
It'd be
people-
like Cam
that
would never
people
say
know.
that.
Yeah, you have to.
Steve
like,
would never say that.
if you-
Like,
if-
that's edited. That's
yeah.
totally edited.
Okay, what about politicians are different? Like,
Politicians come
politicians-
across as a persona though.
right?
Like politicians act a different way in front of the camera than they do in private, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like
but
that's
what
the
I mean,
thing.
like,
for instance, something like this. This is where.
but you could ruin a political campaign like that by doing that.
Yeah, and a lot of the sheep, they would watch it and be like, "Oh, he said this." They wouldn't think twice about
Well,
looking
look at-
into it.
Do you guys hear what happened to Joe Biden?
Tell us.
Okay, so let's for what we're going to talk about, let's put Joe Biden's politics aside because it has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
But he his whole campaign, because he's running for president, right? He's got a campaign, and his whole campaign is like in jeopardy. Like he may be, like in a day, his whole campaign may have been squashed, and he may not even have a chance because there was a girl that claimed that he went up behind her at a rally in public and made her feel uncomfortable by smelling her hair, kissing her on the
This was
back.
a small little girl, wasn't it?
No.
Wasn't she young?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so.
okay.
Forgive me if that's the case, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Like, it's a grown woman.
Yeah.
And she just said that he was being a creep, basically, and made her feel uncomfortable.
You're not going to pull up something you did in grade 11 and be like, you know, this is the guy you're having, like, I don't know.
You know what? Yeah,
You know what, man?
I'm
No,
sure
at
Joe
that point,
Biden is a
just-
creep. Like,
it's
he
just a-
seems creepy, but...
Yeah, you just
But,
basically...
like, are we literally going to say that he can't run the country because...
Yeah.
He made a woman say, like,
No,
harassment,
listen,
rape,
man.
like, different story. And some may argue that that is harassment, but I'm sorry, it was in public. Like, he made you feel creepy. Let's move on. Like, and how do we know that that's true?
This is where I think
That's dangerous,
This is
Betts.
where I
That's
think it should
What?
actually go down. Is if that situation arose, I would be more concerned on how he's dealing with it
Yeah.
than if he's whether he did it or not.
I agree.
Do you know
And
what I'm saying? Because I'm like, if he says, you know what, that I did that.
Do you
I
wanna
don't
know how he
agree with you
reacted?
completely.
Do you want to know how he reacted?
Think
I
about-
thought in a very good way. He said, because there was a second girl that came out and said, this is just, fuck, we hear about this so much. And I know there are real cases, not justifying that, but we hear this so often. Now another girl's coming out saying he made her feel uncomfortable.
What does that even mean?
I know, like, it just means
I have people
you're
that
being
make
a
me
creep.
feel uncomfortable.
I've
all
had,
the
you know how many
time.
women I've had made me feel uncomfortable? Or
That come
gay,
on- come
gay
on to you
men
hard,
that
that
come
come on
on
to
to
you
me, and I
hard.
felt very uncomfortable. I move on, and yes, I'm a male. It's different because I'm not as vulnerable as women, and there is serious incidences. But when it just comes to, like, okay, he smelt your hair and kissed you on the back of the head, and, like, anyways, he reacted.
Jeez, you're going to piss them all off if they hear that.
He
Like,
just said-
yo.
You know what, man? Though,
What?
like,
No.
there's that whole thing about like.
What did he say? What did he say?
He said, unfortunately, I don't recall this incident. I am in a position where I shake hands, do greetings, and whatever, do greetings like thousands of times a month. And I've done over, however many in my entire career. I'm not sure about this specific incident. I never intended to come across that way. If I did, that is a problem. And I respect, what you're saying, and I need to really look at it going forward. So I was like,
That's a good answer.
it's a good answer. Like, and I'm paraphrasing. He said it way better than me, but that's essentially what he said.
That's a good answer. That's
You
a
don't
just,
get me wrong.
you just
Don't get me wrong.
diffused the fire on me. I was pissed, but now I'm...
Well, I
Well,
know,
you
and
know what,
I want to be
you're
really
right.
clear because I'm on the woman's side. Like Harvey Weinstein, all that shit. That's
Oh,
not
that guy
cool.
that was his fucking game.
That
Like,
is
was
not
game.
cool.
But here's the point
That
I'm
is
saying.
not cool.
Here's the point I'm saying.
But just
though.
because a guy makes you
Listen,
feel
it
uncomfortable,
depends-
that's where we need to draw the line.
It depends on the guy.
Okay.
Brad Pitt run the same game as Harvey Weinstein. Would
Really?
you have the same problems?
How do we know that?
No,
How do we
but
know
you know
that?
what I'm saying?
Oh, if
So
Brad Pitt.
If Brad Pitt ran the same game,
Right.
ran the same game that works all the time.
Yeah.
Harvey does that game because it works for him. It's how he gets laid.
'Cause he's ugly.
He knows he's ugly. The guy,
That's so deep.
You know?
But if it
It's
was
true.
a Brad
that was
Pitt,
his game. That was his MO. That's how he worked. He figured out how to get girls, and they knew that he had some power. He owned a company. These girls wanted to.
You're talking Weinstein still?
Weinstein, yeah. So they wanted to basically get in their TV show. So he'd set it up that they'd show up at his apartment or at his hotel room at 3 in the morning. It's like to read their scripts, and they fucking end up giving him a massage, and then next thing you know, one thing after another,
Yeah.
they get the part. I'm just like, are
That's
you
horrible.
I'm
Like,
just,
that's-
it's horrible, but
yeah.
what the fuck are you doing there at 3 in the morning?
Right.
Doing a read, like, or you.
But I mean,
Like there's
I
those
get
types of
it.
things, And the thing is, what I'm saying is that
That's inappropriate.
if-
That's
it's
an inappropriate time.
but it's he's
Brad Pitt-
leveraging his power
he's
for
leveraging his
sexual
Yes.
advantages.
But
which
if
is
Brad
wrong.
Pitt was doing the exact same thing, would the reaction of the girl be the same?
I know it's a
That's
really,
what I'm
it's
saying.
actually a really good point.
They talk about acts of romance. There's certain things that, like, if someone basically came outside of a woman's window and serenaded them, right, and made a song and wrote
There's
the
like
song.
no, one would be super creepy, the other one would be it was
Depends
the
on
hottest
what
thing.
how the girl feels about the guy. If the girl likes the guy and the guy sings this serenaded song, she thinks it's super romantic.
It's a really good point.
She thinks it's super
Yeah,
romantic.
It's funny, I've never
if
really
all
thought
of a sudden
about
she looks outside and it's some fucking creepy guy that she saw at the coffee shop, all of a sudden it's not super romantic. It's super.
What happens if
creepy.
the creepy guy was like hot though? Like what happens if it was like a big jack?
That's what I'm
dude?
saying.
That's what
It
he's
all
saying.
depends.
Yeah, I know, I know.
It all depends
Like, oh, that was a
on the
creepy guy, but, like,
situation.
he's
and thing.
hot.
So the same action.
I know, it becomes way less creepy
The
when...
same action
If a
becomes
woman is
different
attracted
creepy
to-
depending on whether the connection was there or not.
Yeah.
So like it's hard to say. Like, you know, like some people go on a date and then they know.
Well,
like,
and you look at someone like Joe Biden, he's an older, creepy man.
well, he comes across
He
that
comes
way.
across that way,
No,
at least.
he doesn't probably
He
think
looks
of
that way.
He probably doesn't think of himself
No,
as an
but
old
he
creepy
looks-
man.
but he
thinks
looks
of
that.
himself as like a
He
fucking
looks that way.
stallion,
Like, he
right?
could play that in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, he could play an old, creepy man.
But you know, but you internally
He would too.
But
internally,
Barack Obama, when he was, getting into his first term, probably a different story. Like,
But internally, people don't think that about themselves. They don't think I'm a creepy or I'm fat or I'm like balding. Or they don't think.
No,
about
they
those
do.
things.
A guy like that's. I don't.
So
Weinstein knows that he's an old creepy dude and can't get with girls, so he's like, I'm an old creepy guy. How am I gonna?
yeah, exactly.
Well, no.
Okay,
So
this
he
is how I'm
spent a
gonna
lot
do
of
it.
time trying to figure out how to get girls, and he figured out that once he became rich and powerful, that girls were just throwing themselves
And
at him.
even
And
though-
as long as he framed it correctly,
Even though
that's
the-
why he's running
yeah.
the same game over and over again.
Yeah.
What were we
Well, I
gonna
was
say?
just
Ben?
gonna say, there is a case where like, why didn't the girls just leave? And what? Because this is their life. I mean,
They want the
They
job.
want the job, and he's doing something completely. I mean, it's just wrong. So it's not. It's not a good thing.
Super. Same thing with Terry Crews. Why didn't Terry Crews say something when that guy grabbed his nuts?
Okay,
Because he
but-
doesn't want to ruffle feathers and all of a sudden
But that's
blacklist
that.
himself.
The Terry Crews thing is interesting to me because like there's one part of me that's like, okay, well if this is all happening with women, men should, if they feel uncomfortable and violated, men should be able to say the same thing. But then there's another part of me that's like, Terry, you're fucking like the biggest dude ever. No one can.
Yeah, but if
hurt
some guy
you.
comes and grabs his balls and then basically doesn't like,
Dude,
I
you don't-
guarantee like he
but
put
you
him in a
don't
position
think
that he couldn't make a move. That's what I'm talking about, where they do fucked up things in Hollywood because they
Yeah.
want to show how powerful they are.
Of course.
Because they basically make people do certain
But
things.
like, do you really think, Kate? So if I'm at a party and a dude comes up and grabs my dick or my balls, I'm getting mad.
What
I'm
if
probably
it's your
punching him
boss?
in the face.
What if it's your boss and you have like a $200,000 a year
Yeah,
thing, and
I
you
mean,
know
I'm
that
getting
punching him in-
extremely mad.
As long as you punch him in
but
the
I'm
face,
not-
you know your job is
I
fired.
heard Terry on a podcast, and he was talking about, like, he had a really sensitive way about it. He's like, he's almost framing it in that he's had trauma and he's had to get over it. I'm like, dude, like, seriously? A dude grabbed your balls. Like, get over it. Like,
I don't think it was the grabbing the balls.
I don't
think
think it's
it
right.
was the lack of power that he had after it happened, that he couldn't act on it.
Fair.
That was what happened. I think that's the trauma that he felt, is that like it's not
Oh, he's cheesed. He didn't do anything.
because he didn't do anything. If anyone else, if it was a nobody that grabbed his balls, he would have just grabbed him and beat him to a pulp.
And see
but
that-
because someone that had a position of power did it to him, and he didn't act on it,
Right.
is why he felt trauma and why he was dealing with like,
yeah.
what the fuck.
And you're right, because when I listened to his side of it, he did go to the company and say, you need to deal with this. He grabbed me by the balls, he violated me, blah, 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 and they didn't do anything. So yeah, that's wrong. And I don't blame Terry for not only bringing that public, but getting justice in that.
That's kind of funny though.
I just like, he also
the guy
had,
was probably like, the other
Some
thing
guy
is the guy's
grabbed
like
his
probably
sack.
high on
but he also had this like,
no, he never met him before. Never met him before. He grabs
I
his
know.
balls and then he was eyeballing him the whole fucking night.
but he also had
Trying
this,
to basically like being like, yeah, let's go, let's do this.
but he also had
that's
this,
somewhat funny. Though.
like that's
Yeah.
like some guy, like same thing with you, some guy hitting on you. That happened to me at times.
he
too.
also had this like victim kind of like,
I know it was
for
weird.
me,
It
and
was
I'm kind of
weird.
like, Terry,
shut
like,
up,
come
man,
on.
like-
Like,
Yeah, but you can't say that to a girl. You couldn't
I
say,
know.
"Oh, come on!" Like
I
the
know.
whole place would erupt.
I know, but girls
Girls can say it to each other.
but I can't. We
It's
can't
guys
forget.
can't say it to
girls are more vulnerable than guys, so there's a big difference. And I've gone
Well,
over
you're
this
gonna
in
get
my
in
head a
trouble for
lot.
saying that.
No, that's actually defending them. That's
No,
actually,
it's not. No,
No,
because
you're-
no,
you're-
men and
you're-
women
no,
are exactly
we're
equal.
equal.
We're not. They're not more vulnerable than us.
I don't care if that offends someone. That's fine. What I'm saying is that girls are more vulnerable physically. So when someone, so if a girl and a guy are at a party and one guy goes up and grabs, or if a girl goes up and grabs one guy by, the package, and then a guy goes up and grabs a woman by the package, that the woman and the man grabbing the girl in her package, it's a horrible way of describing it, is more of a big deal because the women are more vulnerable just physically, right? Like that's a more dangerous situation because women typically aren't able to defend themselves physically against an altercation like that.
Right now. I think the biggest thing is
no, I know. I fully agree.
Don't tell me I'm saying women aren't strong. Oh my god!
I know.
Gonna open up a can of worms.
This is like men.
You're totally right though. Some girls are gonna take that as Some girls are gonna take that as like, oh, Kaylor's not saying women are strong enough, and then other girls are gonna realize that I'm just
the normal
saying,
ones are gonna. The normal ones are
yeah,
gonna be
just
like,
saying like
it's just
this makes sense.
It's weird how society, because like traditionally men were the ones, and this is, there's a lot of women that out there that want to be swooped up by a man. They want to basically have their emotions overwhelmed and taken over by a man, and I've seen that happen a lot. Where like, you know, some of these guys that I know,
swooped up?
women want to
Picked
get up,
up, no, picked up
the
off
world
their
women of
legs.
emotions,
Right.
right? There's a lot of times where like I've had some
Swept off their feet.
buddies of mine who are like fucking really good at the game, and they basically know how to like control a girl's emotions, and they literally go, and then all of a sudden they have this girl because they know how to control their emotions and how to make them feel like the butterfly effects and how to feel.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of times where they do like these weird aggressive moves and then pull off because that initial aggressive movement creates an instance of like where you have that emotional feel attached to it,
back
and then they pull back, and then you just like let it and then hold it off. Like there's certain types of, so there's these weird psychological mental games that
Women
they
can
play.
do the same to men.
They do. Like Cosmopolitan teaches them fucking how to do it in the fucking book, right? So the thing is that traditionally men have been chasing women their whole lives. From the age of their 12, 13, they've been fucking saying no to every guy who's trying to like pick them up, right? Every guy that they meet is trying to like, oh, I like you, I want to be with you. And then they're trying to figure out a way to fucking dance and joust with her all the time. And they know that. They're not stupid. They can feel that. Just like the same thing as when a girl's trying to pick you up, you're like, oh, fuck, this girl's into me. You know, and it's like, you know, like,
it happens to Betsy all the time.
yeah,
eh?
it's like, this girl's into
Betsy's
me. I'm
got
like,
sticks,
and you
you
got to be
just
careful
pokes
on like how to basically like how to deal and maneuver with those, because you don't want to give them too much.
Right.
You don't want to, same thing, but girls have to do it on a regular basis. So a lot of times you notice that a lot of these girls put on this cold front.
Yeah.
Fuck you. It's like a fuck you front to everybody, thinking that everyone that's talking to them is trying to get in their pants. Majority of the times, yes, it's true. But that's where society's gone to, because like that's what we do as men. That's like seems to be the goal. It's stupid.
That's a. What do you mean the goal?
For men, that's the goal. They're all just trying to just.
That's been the goal since freaking monkeys do it right
primal,
now. Like that's primal shit.
Primal, yeah.
Like find the girl with the big hips, and that's what they do.
It's like here's a classic example. If we're in a police headquarters and we get a call from a guy who's calling saying my wife is beating me up and it's domestic abuse, I need help. Imagine that call in comparison to a girl crying and calling and saying my husband is beating me up.
Yeah.
Okay. So if anyone out there wants to say, if any women out there want to say, no, Kaylor, women aren't more vulnerable than men, then why are those two calls completely different?
Taken different.
Completely different.
They'll send one cop for the one.
Yeah, they'll laugh at the other one. I mean,
like,
they
yo,
won't.
man,
Nowadays, we're at a point where we're so progressive now that I think they would take it somewhat seriously. But they're not. Those calls aren't carrying the same weight. So yeah, I mean, women just physically are more vulnerable. I think it's a bigger deal when guys leverage their power or whatever over women. I think that's a bigger deal than when. But it's also not like we should throw guys out and just be like, well, they never get violated or they never feel uncomfortable. That's not true.
You ever hear that story about that guy who broke and entered into like a house, and then the girl was like a behemoth, like she was like Amazonian, like this big chick, tied him up and like raped him for like a week.
Really?
Just had sex with him for a week. Not raped him like anally or anything, but just like got him aroused and just rid him until like he couldn't handle it, and just had this guy tied to a pole.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just had sex 5 times a
This is
day.
the question: Can you arouse a guy that doesn't want to be aroused?
Yeah,
that's a good.
I don't know.
Well, she just starts going down.
Yeah, but then you obviously like it.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
You don't
like,
mean to. You
If
don't
you're
mean
scared and you're in fight or flight,
I don't think you get
you
aroused.
can't get aroused. It
Like,
goes
it
against
might-
biology.
I don't know.
I don't want to say you can't, but
Well, it
maybe
happened
she like fed him Viagra or
Well,
something.
that happened to
That
this
could-
guy. She tied him up and like that was his punishment. But like we kind of laugh at that. Like, well, that's kind of funny. But
Well, we're
flip
kind
that
of like,
around.
well, why can't that happen to us? Like,
Flip that. Yeah, that's what that's
joking,
That's what the threads were in this
Yeah,
in
of
this video
course.
that I watched. I was
Yeah.
like, yo, that's terrible. But like if you flip that
Let me
around,
see what she looks like.
yeah, she was just a big. She was
that's the
Amazon, she
thing.
was
Like
big.
it can be.
She
flipped,
overpowered him and then just raped him for
can
a
be
week.
flipped around, or a homosexual male who's bigger than me could come and take advantage of me physically.
Which happens in prison a lot,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Dude,
it,
that'd
it
probably
could
be
happen.
one of the worst experiences of
It
life.
doesn't happen. I've never heard of it, but
In prison?
no, not in prison.
Oh,
Just in general, I'm sure it has, but
I'm
I've
sure it
never
happens
heard
all
of
the
it.
time. Oh, I've personally never. That's never.
Yeah, I've
happened
never
to a
heard of
friend mine or
that,
anything.
but yeah,
Jeez, that's wild. That's like asserting dominance. That's crazy.
yeah, man.
Well, on that note, do we end the show on?
Do we end this show on that?
Do we
note?
end the show on asserting dominance?
Okay, I have to. I'm not a flat earther. I love women. They're not.
You
know,
can't
when
say
I,
you love
when I
women.
s-
That's-
when I said vulnerable, I meant that physically
That we want to protect
we
them.
want to protect you guys, and I have nothing against transgenders. You guys do what you want. Anyone does whatever they want as long as it makes everyone happy and it doesn't affect everyone's happiness. There, I'm done. now we can end the show.
That's the disclaimer.
Yeah,
That's
his-
my disclaimer.
that's
my,
his-
my
They didn't even
caveat
get
at
this
the
far
end.
into the show after you said it. They're like, "Fuck this shit. I'm writing a letter."
You guys aren't gonna like superimpose words in my mouth, are you?
No, we
Like
don't have that.
talked
We don't
about?
have that technology.
Well, he
No.
seemed to know what he was doing.
Oh, freaking Betsy! Our whole little info at TXC show is gonna be lit up. Yeah, we're getting hate mail now.
Yeah,
You get an
man.
email.
I'm okay with it, man. A little bit of controversy is.
That's what creates the viewership, man.
That's what the whole thing. Nothing's safe. It's discussion. It's all about discussion and keep
Yeah.
an open mind on everything. And
It is
And
the
that is
podcast
so-
where nothing is
That
safe.
is so important, and that's not to go back to what we were talking about, but that's why it's so important to. Yes, you can be offended by something, but I think acting upon it, like you need to also equally welcome discussion because there's no progress without discussion. So you need to listen to the other side. So I listen to people that I completely disagree with because they may know something that I don't know,
It's
and
a
I've
different
changed my
perspective. It's
mind
a
on
different
many
perspective, yeah.
things. You need to. So the problem now is they're hearing one thing, someone gets triggered and they're offended, and it's like the conversation's done. Well, now you're upset. Nothing's been changed. Everyone's a loser. So just listen.
There's a thing about that too, as I was wondering, is like attaching yourself to those specific ideas as well. Like those ideas sometimes don't necessarily define who you are, right?
No,
So
they're
if you stay
words.
open, they're words. You just stay open to everything, and you just learn, and you can gather the perspective from
And
other
if they
people's.
do define you and they do trigger you, I think that leads to bigger, or that means you have bigger problems.
There's a bigger problem.
Yeah,
right?
you got. It will also leads to healing too, because now you know what the fuck triggered you.
Right.
So you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, that triggered me. Why did that trigger me?
What does the word trigger even mean? Where did that even come from? I thought it was a joke. I thought the word trigger was a troll.
Trigger?
Like, hey, this is a
Well,
trigger
it's for
warning. or this is a
people
trigger.
who actually get like hated on.
Like children?
No, like someone who's a homosexual and someone who is against that may say something that triggers that emotion.
That emotion from
in
before.
them.
People
So it's
say
like-
things that
It's a real
trigger,
thing.
that
I'm not-
trigger
it's
me all the
it's
time,
like
but
the
I don't.
It's the NLP type of thing, right? Like there's certain triggers, like
Right.
So like if I say something that for him triggers an emotion in you, right? That's a trigger because it brings back your connection.
And
to it.
it's funny because I'm not even saying that you shouldn't be offended. Like, and it's also easy for me to say I'm a white male, but like,
You're white?
yeah,
Huh. What is white?
100%. I know we shouldn't even say that. It's racist.
No, but what is it?
No, don't even get started on that.
Yeah, we don't need to
we
get
have
to it.
another show on that.
But it's not even offended. People say like, oh, everyone gets offended and that's the issue. The issue isn't being offended. I think if I was a homosexual male and I heard someone talking about how, homosexuals, that's not right or whatever, I would be offended. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's what you do from there, right? Do you end the conversation or like go and have a pity party and get sad and ruin your life? Or do you say, you know what, those are just words. I'm going to, go to my tribe of people who believe that there's nothing wrong with that. and let's spark a conversation. Maybe that's a bad example because there shouldn't really be much of a conversation. But like
your reality is different from someone else's. Like realistically, like like you said, if you want to go homosexuals have a completely different reality than mine. I'm not in that reality.
Yeah.
I don't live that lifestyle. Does that make it bad or wrong? No, that's your lifestyle. This is my lifestyle. That's the thing. Like there's nothing. That's what I'm saying. Like as long as there's no crossover, but there's a thing about like putting me into that lifestyle. I don't want to be there, right? I may not necessarily want to be there and go to these pride parades and all this. Like, it just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
Right? It has nothing to do.
Doesn't mean you're against it. It doesn't mean. And the homosexual thing's a bad example for what I'm trying to say because, I mean, I think it's perfectly rational to be offended if someone says something against homosexuality and you are a homosexual and you've struggled with it your whole life.
Again, if it's hate thing, it's a hate thing, right? Like, and I'm just like that. You got to defend no matter what, because like if I'm shitting on you because you're too tall, I'm like, yeah, you fucking tall ass, you know, and trying to pull you down because I'm worried about your height over my height. Right. That's what it becomes a problem.
Like maybe transgender is a good example because the pronouns and stuff like that. I don't understand any of that. But that's a topic that should be discussed because I need to understand more of where transgenders are coming from. I do, if I want to have a credible opinion about it, and then they, I think, need to also understand, for those of us being regulated to say certain pronouns, they need to understand where we're coming from. It should be a big conversation, and that's so optimistic. Probably will never happen, but I think that's wishful thinking. But I wish that's what happened. Just big conversations and less like offensiveness, or less people getting offended, and just having one big conversation.
Just nothing where nothing is safe.
ThoughtXchange.
ThoughtXchange.
We actually went to ThoughtXchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, where nothing is safe.
That's what it's all about. Thought and then change. Do you get the idea in the thing?
No,
so it's a thought exchange, but then it's also thought and then change as well.
With the infinity sign in the middle, so thought, change.
And then infinite amount of change.
Infinite amount of change.
I knew you guys would have it all thought out. I like that. I like it. It's very well calculated.
That's the whole idea. So like hopefully like you have conversations like this and then you change your ideas.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, hey, Kaylor Betts.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you for coming. It was awesome. All right.
That's the ThoughtXchange, guys. Kaylor Betts. Take care, guys. See you guys next week.